Um, hello everyone, and welcome to the Energy Showcase. We're going to get started right now. And so today's agenda, today we have three different sessions focused around the topic of energy for the most part, except for the open topic. But we're going to be getting started now with my opening remarks, as well as meeting the panel, followed by starting with the open topic session, and then followed by the clean tech session. And then after that, the energy and supporting system session. So what is the goal of Deep Tech Showcase? The goal of Deep Tech Showcase is to bring more deep tech to market. And what that means is that there's a lot of tech out there, a lot of founders out there that have really good ideas, have innovative ideas that can change the world. But without having the proper connections and the proper ecosystem, it's very, 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 very difficult to take that tech and get it to market. You need to have a lot of connections. So what Deep Tech Showcase is trying to do is it is trying to help founders, startups, investors, federal stakeholders, corporations to get to know each other and to meet each other. So we created this ecosystem with that goal. And anchoring this ecosystem are monthly events. So every month is a different event. This month is energy. Next month is going to be advanced materials. After that is space. And we have a pretty great, I mean, if I do say so myself, great lineup of startups, as well as really fantastic panelists that give a really deep insight into where the market is, what the startup should be focusing on, what trends we're going to be seeing, and moving forward from there. In between the showcases, we don't just sit around and wait for the next event. Usually in between the showcases, what we'll do is we will make connections between the relevant stakeholders and the startups that we have in the ecosystem. So if during the event or after the event you see, hey, I really like that company, I really like that company, I want to speak to them, feel free to reach out to us. But more than that, if after the event you say, hey, they have some really good robotics companies in their lineup, I'd like to hear more about those, feel free to reach out to us, because we're always happy to make those connections and have introductions and really foster this sense of community. So this is our showcase calendar. As I already mentioned before, we're starting here with energy. After that is advanced materials, and after that is space. If you want to present or join the panel, feel free to reach out to us. We're always happy to have more. More is better. And this is the team. I'm front and center. And now, I think I'm running a little bit early, but Matthew is going to make a brief little introduction to our sister company, Eagle Point Funding, and what they've been doing and how they've been helping companies. Matt, the floor is yours.
Yep. Thanks for that, Asher. So my name is Matthew Cloud. I'm Director of Business Development here at Eagle Point Funding. I see some familiar faces and some familiar names here, so it's good to reconnect with all of you. So as Asher had mentioned, I help prospective clients through the due diligence process prior to working with us. We at Eagle Point Funding, we target various SBIR, STTR, broad agency announcements, and other transaction authority announcement opportunities for our clients. In addition, we do go after guaranteed loan programs such as those offered by the Department of Energy Loan Program Office or the USDA. As you can see from events such as this one, one thing that, and really just sort of to hammer down on this, I know Asher had mentioned it earlier, but one thing that really sets us apart from your run-of-the-mill grant writer is our network that we bring with us to each and every client engagement. Our goal is to facilitate meaningful relationships that both solve the pain points of our stakeholders on one end, and on the other end, inform the federal funding submissions for our clients on the other. Here on this slide, these are a few of the imminent energy-related opportunities that we're submitting our clients to. we have, obviously the DOE SBIR. This is their first release for their fiscal year 2023 cycle. The letter of intent for this opportunity is due, I believe, on Monday, the 29th. And so and there are 23 topics, each with a whole at least 2 or 3 subtopic categories. This release of the DOE SBIR is typically not the one that's more robust. We'll see the more robust one in release 2, which should come out in November. There are also a whole array of what are called FOAs, or funding opportunity announcements, from the various facets of the Department of Energy. We have a $93 million opportunity from the Vehicle Technology Office. They call it their office-wide funding opportunity announcement. And in it, there are topics, there's powertrain materials for battery electric vehicles, natural gas engine demonstrations for non-road, including off-road, rail, and marine applications, low greenhouse gas concepts for off-road vehicles, and so on and so forth. There are a couple hydrogen-heavy opportunities there, as I'm sure most of you are aware with like the Moonshots program. Hydrogen is a big point of interest on behalf of the DOE these days, not just the DOE, but also the EPA. So we do also have a really great funding opportunity announcement from the Fossil Energy Carbon Management Office, which is a facet of the National Energy Technology Lab. It's called IM4, the Innovative Methane Measurement, Monitoring, and Mitigation. And so this is essentially a way to set up new sensing technologies for methane monitoring and abatement. This one, I believe, is due October 4th. So we have about 6 weeks to finalize preparing submissions for that. We do also have from the Advanced Manufacturing Office, as well as the Water Power Technology Office. We have what are called NOIs, or Notices of Intent, which means that they're between 2 and 3 months away from soliciting proposals officially for these opportunities. The topic areas are found on the EERE website. That's the Office for Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energies office. But of course, you can totally book a call with me and we can discuss these more in depth, discuss your company in particular. All you do is take your smartphone camera out, hold it up to that QR code there, and it'll take you right to my calendar. And I do believe, Asher, correct me if I'm wrong, we do also have a guest speaker, correct?
Yeah, Matt is on the call. If Matt is able to unmute, I think.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, yeah, Matt. So Matt here is from the Department of Energy Loan Program Office to discuss how the DOE is utilizing their $35 billion allocation to develop disruptive energy projects. So Matt, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thanks, Matthew. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here and share a few quick remarks on the Loan Programs Office. At DOE, Matthew gave a good overview of the range of opportunities through the fossil energy and carbon management side of DOE, and a lot of their money is in the form of grants, and a lot of that is earlier stage money to help more in the R&D and feasibility study phase of work. And when developers, new technology developers, get through those early stages of proving out their technology and running through the pilots and some early demonstrations and are ready for commercialization, that's when it's time to come over to the Loan Programs Office. And we provide early stage commercial financing to get innovative technologies into the market. Our mission is to finance technologies that reduce greenhouse gas emissions relative to business as usual. We can do that in the energy sector. That's renewables, industrial energy efficiency, nuclear energy, fossil and carbon capture, carbon management technologies. We've got funding for the automotive sector as well. So we can cover a pretty broad range of technologies. The key things are that the technology needs to be ready for commercialization. So it needs to be demonstrated at a pilot scale, ideally even at a demonstration scale. And now if this is one of the first 3 deployments of this technology at a large commercial scale, that's when we can participate. We've been given some additional flexibility with the recent legislation. The Inflation Reduction Act signed into law last week gives us a little bit more flexibility to even move beyond just innovative technologies into like commercial technologies. We've got tens of billions of dollars available that we can lend to projects that are trying to get commercialized. And I say lend. So we're not a grant program. We're a loan program. So we operate similar to a commercial bank, but we're willing to take risks that commercial banks won't take. Commercial banks generally aren't going to talk to innovators. They want to talk to established commercial players. But at LPO, we talk to innovators and we provide loans to get your technology to market and prove it out so that the commercial banks can do the next series of financings. We also have the benefit of financial terms that are more flexible than most commercial banks can offer. We have flexibility with the loan tenor. The interest rates are usually at the treasury rate with sometimes a small spread based on the negotiated terms of the transaction, but lower than what a commercial bank would be willing to finance. We have a lot of flexibility in structuring our transactions. For those of you out there who are at the point where you're ready to look for commercial financing, we're here for you with a caveat. Like there is a cost to working with us. Due diligence costs money. We hire advisors. We do a deep technical review. We evaluate the financials. We look at the cash flows from your project. So it's to the tune of several $1 million of costs that you will have to bear just to go through our program. So generally, what we advise is that we're ideal for large projects. And when I say large, I'm talking minimum $50 to $100 million total project costs. And our sweet spot is probably a few $100 million up to into the billions. So if you're looking at going big, we're here for you. And we have a business development shop that can engage early for pre-application consultations and give you an opportunity to tell us about your technology, about your project, about your financial request, and can help walk you through our program and the requirements and help you make a determination as to whether we're a good fit for your needs.
Matt.
Yep.
Yeah, Matt, thank you. Thank you very much for that. Could you, just on that last note, could you just spend another minute or two just sort of discussing the due diligence process for like Title 17 or ATVM? Like what do people have to go through, in order to, like I know there's like a pre-application consultation and there's like, so if you could just like give us like, 90 to 120 seconds. I know you could probably talk about it for hours, but.
Sure. Yeah, happy to. So generally how it works is if the pre-application consultations are going well and our business development folks think we're a good match, we generally will have a 2-part application process. A part 1 application will be a higher level collection of information about your project that you would submit, and we've got solicitations on our website that explain exactly the type of information we're looking for. And that first application will be primarily an eligibility review. We'll make sure that we're seeing what we expected from the pre-application consultations. We'll validate that, yes, this is an eligible project based on the requirements of our respective solicitations. Successful Part 1 applicants will then be invited to submit Part 2 applications, and that's where we're asking for full basket of project level materials. We want to see your status of contract negotiations, everything from your technology provider to the firm that's going to do the construction of your project. We'll want to look at your operations plan. We'll want to look at your plan for generating cash flow. What kind of offtake contracts do you have? And all of that should be included in the detailed financial model. And the technology should be supported by an engineer's report. So there's a whole laundry list of requirements for a Part 2 application. If you go to the Loan Programs Office website, which is hosted on the energy.gov webpage, you can download a solicitation and get a feel for the breadth of information we'll be asking for in that Part 2 review. Successful Part 2 applications are then invited into due diligence, and that's when we begin to start to peel the onion, if you will. So like the Part 2 application is an onion, and we will look at it and be like, yes, that's an onion, that's what we were expecting. But due diligence is when you start peeling it and you start, we hire third-party advisors. We'll hire financial, market, technical, legal advisors to help us evaluate all of the pieces of the project. And we begin to negotiate a term sheet with the applicant, and successful applicants will then be offered a term sheet which lays out the terms and conditions for the loan. And there's often conditions precedent for closing the loan. Sometimes there's some additional work to do, but we just want to make that commitment and make a public statement that we've made this offer to this exciting project. And then we work through the loan closing process. That's a lawyerly process where we get all the loan documents signed, and then we can start to disperse funds to your project. It'll be dispersed in partnership with typically an equity investor of some sort who will come in and take a share of the total costs. And the Loan Programs Office stays with the project through construction, through operations, up until the loan is repaid. So it's a long-term relationship.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you very much for that, Matt. Yeah. And I've been tapped before they hook me and drag me off stage. We'll let Asher continue, but thank you very, very much, Matt, for that presentation. And, I definitely, if you want to put any, contact information in the chat or anything like that, or you guys could just contact me. You could always write me an email, and I could talk to you a little bit more about the LPO, and hook you up with the necessary parties. But yeah, Asher, back to you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you both, Matt. And thank you again. I posted in the chat, by the way, the link to the DOE Loan Program Office. If you guys want to take a look at it, I recommend it. All right, so we're starting today with the open topic. Presenting will be Algometric, followed by Electronics, followed by Trust Central, followed by Scythe, and lastly, Advanced American Technologies. After that, clean tech session with Solaris, low impact technologies, Strata sustainability, more solar, and Mush Foods. Then last but not least, we're going to have the energy and supporting systems session, which is Spark Charge, Ateos, Energy Audit, Flip Energy, and Aspinity. All right, so I'm going to introduce the open topic panel, and then after that, we will begin with the pitches. So whoever's first up should start getting ready with their slides. But I'm going to introduce you. I would like to hear, the kinds of energy technology, or actually for the open topic, I'd like to hear your name, what company you're with, and then one interest that you have in terms of, emerging deep tech technologies going forward, or where you see, some of the most interesting innovations within your firm or outside your firm. So we're going to start with Yvonne from Bosch Ventures. Yvonne, the floor is yours to quickly introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone, and thanks, Asher, for inviting me to this showcase. I'm happy to be here. Yes, I have been with Robert Bosch Venture Capital for almost 5 years now, and with the Bosch Corporation actually for 20 years. I'm very interested in investing in anything deep tech which has a strategic fit to the Bosch Corporation. We are a no strings attached corporate venture capital. But because my background, I'm a physicist, I love deep tech, whether this is quantum computing, AI, semiconductor, or advanced networking technologies. And I think, I mean, there's always good times for innovative products. So there's no specific focus. It's just exciting to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Next up, we have Olivier Demand from Canelo Finance.
Yeah, hi, I'm Olivier Demand from Canelo Finance. Canelo Finance, we provide non-dilutive solution venture leasing. So we also, as Yvonne, we also look at various industry in terms of tech. What I personally really like at the moment is to look at the space tech. From a risk perspective, it's still very risky, but we look at interesting startups. Such as we have one very interesting that is looking at fire detection using basically the typical AI model based on satellite data, so which is pretty interesting. So this type of things we're looking at, you know.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Olivier. Next up, we have Zubeida Tebra from Azafran Capital Partners.
Hi, Asher. Thank you. And hi, everyone. This is Zubeida Tebra with the Azafran Capital Partners. We're a New York-based VC fund investing in Europe and North America. We do focus on specifically post-seed stage applied deep tech companies utilizing science and technology within voice, acoustic, and imagery. So that's typically where I spend most of my time. And those are the categories that excite me the most, particularly within medtech and IoT. And so I'm really excited to be here today, getting to know all of you and listening to pitches.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Next up is Yuan Liu from Hypertherm Ventures.
Yeah, hi, I'm Yuan. I'm from Hypertherm Ventures. We are a corporate VC, and our mothership is called Hypertherm. We are a global leader in industrial cutting, and our corporate VC has a $30 million investing in seed from seed to Series B stage startups with a broad range of applications of deep tech in the manufacturing setting. So a couple of areas I'm interested in includes industrial IoT, robotics, AI machine learning, and as well as recently we started looking into the clean tech space as well, especially in areas such as circular manufacturing, etc.
Perfect. Next up is Nandini Agarwal from FF Venture Capital.
Hi, it's so nice to be here this afternoon. I am representing FFVC, seed stage investment firm based here out of New York City, investing in fintech, insurtech, drones, robotics, and applied AI. Sub $10 million valuations, check size $350K to $1 million. Been investing since 14 years and recently closed Fund 6. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Next up is Han Ko from Yusaku Group.
Hello, my name is Han Ko. It's always a pleasure to be part of deep tech space. I know Usher was trying to be humble earlier today, but this is a great program. I always feel honored and to be privileged to be here. Han Ko again from Yusaku Group. My company is an international-based venture capital firm. We have appetite or interest in the space of from healthcare to energy, environmental, and clean tech, and we have a wide range of interest. What's unique about our firm is that it's a U.S.-based firm, but we have office in Asia, and we invest in multiple companies in U.S. As well as the European and Asian companies. So hope that we can connect to some of you and discuss further. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Han. And then next up is Anne Mara from Splunk.
Hi, good morning, afternoon, and evening, I guess. This is Anne Mara. Thank you so much, Asher, for another amazing Deep Tech Showcase event. Glad to be another panelist among an esteemed set of panelists here. I lead public healthcare for Splunk, a $3.5 billion NASDAQ traded data to everything company. So anyone keen to explore and add a multi-billion-dollar logo as a partner as you work to build out your startups please reach out. Happy to help you learn more about our platform. And then every Fortune 500 company and every congressionally mandated government agency in the world uses Splunk. So if you need access to a potential account, or you're wanting to target a certain audience, whether it's part of your POC, MVP, or as you go commercial and GA, happy to help you with those relationships and brokering that set of introductions. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you so much. All right, and next up is Andrew Burns from Micron Technology.
Hi guys, my name is Andy. I'm a recovering failed clean tech startup founder, recovering failed clean tech project management and developer. And for the last 5 years, I've been investing in like a lot of really great artificial intelligence startups. I've invested in over 60 now. Yeah, like just really passionate about clean tech. Currently at Micron, the memory and storage giant based in Boise, Idaho. We're a semiconductor company. And I'm excited to be here because one of the things that we're doing is helping Micron through its sustainability transition. So it's a pretty awesome like moment in time to be participating in like the clean tech revolution at this scale. And my role at Micron is to identify like really great new technology that works to help Micron accomplish its sustainability objectives. I'm just going to drop a quick link in the chat. Encourage you guys to check it out. This is actually a program we run with all the semiconductor companies designed to like pull in folks like yourselves to like increase awareness and drive engagement opportunities in the semiconductor industry for startups. Yeah, excited to learn, and yeah, let's do it.
Thank you so much, Andy. And then last but not least, we have Marshall Witkowski from the DIU.
Hi, thanks. I'm at Defense Innovation Unit. We're headquartered in Mountain View. We have offices across the country. We're trying to bring commercial technologies into the military. I'm working in the energy portfolio. We're both looking at installations and operational energy.
Perfect. Yeah, sorry, did I get you off?
Oh, no worries.
All right, all good. Thank you so much. All right, without further ado, we are going to get started with the open topic. First one to present will be algometric. Whenever you're ready, just start sharing your screen and we'll be on our way.
Okay. That's shared.
It's shared, but we see we don't see the presentation view. We see the regular. Perfect. You're good to go.
Good. So I'm Greg Jones. I'm CEO of Algometrics. I'm a client of Eagle Point. We've submitted several grants together, and I've presented on this showcase before, in fact. And I think you witnessed my last presentation when we were in earlier stage of rolling out. What we do is address the problem of data and privacy security. Data and privacy security have been the topic of a lot of angry headlines. Data breaches is when both security and privacy are compromised. According to Gartner, 80% of our data is stored using technologies that are outmoded or vulnerable. Even worse, 1/3 of the breaches are caused by insiders. And perhaps even worse than that, it takes forever to find out you've been breached. More maddening is ransomware, maddening, expensive, and disruptive. You can see it costs $2.5 trillion a year as estimated by a Sonic Wall and this is what's startling, there's nearly 20 ransomware attacks every second. Of course, they're not all successful, but even a poor batting average is going to be very disruptive. So we built our business around providing solutions that allow you to deliver the right information to the right hands when and where needed without compromise. What does that mean in a product offering? Well, we have three right now. Stork was what I presented last time I was on the showcase, and we're about to go out in its product form. This was early in the year. Stork is an identity and access management tool that's focused on machine to machine. Machine to machine communications are going to dominate communications over human to machine, human to human in the near future. And according to the Industry Alliance on identity access management, this is an underserved area of the market. We use a unique approach with tokens to ensure that the right information is available to the right people at the right time. Obscura is a privacy enhancing technology product. The Office of Science and Technology Policy recently formed a group dedicated to privacy enhancing technology, recognizing that there's a bottleneck between all the machine learning that's going on and all the protection of personally identifiable information and other sensitive information that would be useful in that machine learning, but cannot be compromised or disclosed. Ratel is our third product to be launched next year. It leverages multi-party computation type of technology to divide your sensitive data into multiple shares, and puts those on multiple servers. The majority of servers would need to be hacked for your data to be unreconstructible, and any data that's hacked would be useless to any hacker. So this is our zero way in, zero way out. With Stork completed, we went to Iceland, where our marketing manager has some very good commercial contacts, and we're seeking a use case. You got to get the first pickle out of the jar when you're introducing a new product, especially in the realm of security. What we found was GDPR is the overarching concern here. GDPR has many and somewhat vague regulations, and even worse, lots of big penalties were assessed last year. So that got everyone's attention, certainly in Iceland. And when we were talking about our suite of products, Obscura is what they wanted to see. They wanted to see a bridge between their analytics and all this data, this personally identifiable information, sensitive or confidential information that couldn't be disclosed. That's what Obscura does. We found two use cases, very good use cases. The first one was with a data collection services company, where they wanted to provide all of their claimants with data on the information of the debtors of other claimants in aggregated form. So, for example, I could look at everyone's retail clients and find out how are they performing vis-a-vis my own retail clients. We do this with a multi-party computation where we take the customer infrastructure database data into Obscura data sync. This is where the data is divided into multiple shares and dispersed between multiple servers under the control of the Obscura API. So claimants then can make
warning. 30-second warning. This is a 30-second warning, just so you know, Greg.
30-second warning?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
The other use case is with fully homomorphic encryption. Operates much the same way, but the nature of the computation on the data lends itself more to homomorphic encryption. I didn't realize I'd run so long, so let me just tell you that we've been around since 2016. We've received two fundings from the same investor group. Once they saw we were ready to go to products, we've doubled the size of our team over the last 18 months in order to accomplish the product development. And we have other products in the queue, including a way to make Stork plug and play, compression, fully homomorphic encryption, our own version, and a third generation of AI using brain-inspired AI connectomics. What are we looking for? Remember our name, please. We'll be investable after we have success with these two use cases. They're very large in the potential. We'd like recommendations for follow-on use cases. And we're still looking for strategic partners who can advance our developments. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Greg. We're going to start it off where whoever raises their hand first, which is in this case, Anne, can go in chronological order of the Zoom. So it's going to be Anne, then Han, and then whoever else decides to raise their hand.
Great. Thank you so much. Hi, Greg. Nice to see you again. I was hoping you could go back to one of your slides, probably one of the first few. Yeah, it was the one that had all three of the entities on them.
All three products?
Products.
Oh, okay, products. Yeah, this one, yeah.
Yep.
What does it mean? 0 way in, no way out, and then entrance, operation, exit.
Well, for the entrance, it's the identity access management. The exit means nothing's going to get out that you can't recover.
Gotcha.
The operation is the fact we're computing on encrypted data, whether it's MPC or FHE.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
We're presenting our FHE. Of course, there's a lot of flavors of FHE, a lot of libraries, but all those libraries require a lot of work in order to get a useful, scalable product out the door. So we're starting small and going to build on that. We're presenting our FHE to the fully homomorphic standards meeting in Geneva this week.
Okay, I know you had I know you had said you're seeking partners, so I think I threw my LinkedIn link in the chat. So if you want to reach out, happy to intro you to Splunk's venture capital team. They might be interested in the Rattle component.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome.
Hello, Greg. How are you? Han Ko from USACO Group. I really like your solution and your presentation as well. But I'm actually particularly interested in your operation product. Okay, so Obscura, I guess.
Yes.
I know it's a privacy, preserving data processing. Do you have any use case for? I know you're trying to get some use cases, but do you have any use case for medical field? The reason is that the company that we invested in have some of them are healthcare industry, and we're looking for specifically something in that field, and your product might fit in the criteria that we're looking for. So maybe you can just touch base a little bit, and maybe you can touch base offline later. Thanks.
Thank you. It's perfect for that, by the way, but we don't have the trust of the health community yet. That's what I need in these use cases.
Oh, okay. Got it. Maybe we should talk on that one, because the startups that we invested in, it is actually just its product is ready, and we're speaking anyway. I'll go over the details later with you. Okay, so maybe we can work something together. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Han. We have time for one more question. Yvonne, you want to go as the last question?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, Greg, very nice presentation. I also think this is very relevant. I know that Bosch is also, looking into fully homomorphic encryption for computing on AI relevant data sets for training AI models. That's one, of course, I think, good application for fully homomorphic encryption. And also multi-party computing is also very interesting for us, because we are a very, very large organization with 400,000 people around the world. I am wondering, do you have an overview about your competition? Because, for all three products, there is competition out there. And I would be interested, how do you see yourself excelling against competition?
Yeah, I'd be happy to relay that. I think there's some mathematical approaches that we've used that create advantages compared to others. But for example, we're over floating point data as opposed to integer, which is where most of the accepted FHE schemes are. and we include division. So a number of minor technical points that make a large difference competitively.
All right, perfect, perfect. Thank you so much, Greg. And Greg, feel free to leave your email and contact info in the chat. It seems like a few people want to follow up with you. Even in the chat right now, I see something. So thank you so much. Next up, we have electronics, and I believe presenting for them is Melbs. Melbs, the floor is yours.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
All right, great.
Just you might want to, yeah, perfect.
Okay, great. So I want to thank the organizers for inviting me to the Deep Tech Showcase here. And we are definitely going to present some deep materials technology. So going from data protection to materials. So quick background. So for myself, Melbs Lemieux, president and co-founder at Electronics. We've been in business really since our Series A closed in January of 2017. We have 3 products under one roof: CircuitJet, which is our all-in-one PCB printer. I'll talk about that briefly. CircuitScribe is our direct-to-consumer product. I will not talk about that today. And really why I'm here is for Electron Inks, which is our core product, where we aim to be a world leader in providing these metal complex-based conductive inks to the market for different use cases, really to enable our customers to take advantage of agile additive manufacturing. That's our ultimate goal. We don't do this alone. We do this with great partners that you see on the side here. Some of these are our strategic partners. Some of these are our investors. We did finish off a $24 million Series B probably about 4 months ago. And that's investors include Applied Materials, Fujifilm Dymatics, ITIC and Quality Poly out of Taiwan. We have Merck, and then also InQtel has actually done 3 investments in us here in the US. In terms of team, we have about 40 total. Most of those are at our headquarters in Austin, Texas. The founders, myself and Brett, too many years in electronic materials. So a lot of experience with the technology and the supply chain. And again, Austin, Texas, this is our 3rd facility in Austin. And now we have about 30,000 square feet where we have a little bit of R&D and a lot of manufacturing right next to the airport in Austin. So the need that we're addressing is metallization, and particularly with the need to implement metallization with digital methods, digital printing or additive techniques. Metallization really is a cornerstone for manufacturing of many of the electronic devices we use and see every day, from very large, such as solar panels, down to very small, like TFTs. Oftentimes, a lot of advancements in core technology that we have in our hands every day is really due to the nano to micron scale metallization that takes place once you peel back the onion, so to speak. What's going on with conventional metallization? So that's really done by sputtering or other vacuum depot methods, so PVD, CVD, ALD. And there's generally 2 types of limitations. You have the technology limitations, so temperature, 3D parts, toxicity, energy usage is a big one. Going from vacuum methods to ink methods, you're probably saving about 3,000 times the amount of energy, as well as about 40 to 100 times the water. So there is a small ESG angle in this implementation that also plays into the total cost of ownership limitations. So to get around sort of the conventional metallization, obviously the competing approach is using metal or conductive inks, which is what we're doing. So for us, conductive inks, this is really our brand and technology differentiation. At EI, Electron Inks, we focus on sort of these metal complex or particle-free conductive inks. There's a lot of conductive inks on the market. There's probably only 10 companies that actually are making metal complex conductive inks on the market. And most of those are silver. What we've done at EI is we've gone to market with silver about 3 years ago. In the past year, we brought gold and platinum to market. And now we have palladium, nickel, and copper, and alloys thereof. So I think we're the only company that has all these different technologies under one roof. The advantage and differentiation is highly conductive, but they're drop-in replacements. It's essentially taking semiconductor chemistry, so the same chemistry that's used in ALD, CVD precursors, and dropping that into a conductive ink vehicle. So the customer at the end of the day is going to get performance advantages, and really, again, the total cost of ownership. And this is the whole picture, not just the materials themselves, but the equipment and the footprint and the energy usage that's involved in the metallization process.
1 minute warning.
All right, got it. So this is some of the use cases we're in: display, semiconductor packaging, printed antenna. I think that's all pretty obvious. Let me talk a little bit about traction. So we're de-risked on the front side. You know, we've only been around for 5 years, but already we've managed to scale up our production with a world-class tier 1. Our inks are made at Fujifilm COUS in Delaware. It's a semiconductor pharma grade factory. So that's good to know. And then also in terms of traction, we are on market. So we have 2 of our products that are labeled as a Merck product, so a private label agreement with Merck for semiconductor packaging. And those are on market as of last year. And then we have a lot of traction with the DoD and defense as well. So multiple projects to date, about 5 million already under contract. We have another project with the RSO, which is a Rapid Sustainability Office, using our all-in-one PCB printers for flight certifiable boards. And then, as mentioned, with InQtel, we've done 3 projects. So we have a lot of experience with government, DoD, highly classified projects. Okay, so again, our product roadmap, I've talked about silver, gold, platinum, and then nickel, copper would be first in market from a nano complex standpoint. And really, you know, what we're looking for today in here is customers and licensing partners kind of specific to semiconductor manufacturing and packaging. I think we have use cases for all products from biomedical to print electronics, but our area of interest lately over the past 18 months has been semiconductor packaging and manufacturing. Here's a team. We're a little bit bigger now. This is outdated, but here's my contact information, and I will drop it in the chat room. And hopefully I'm on time, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melbs. And that was a great presentation. I think you already have a question from Han Ko. Han, you want to go ahead?
Yes, actually, you have a great product, and I really appreciate that, actually. I know you actually already have traction with overseas like Fuji. Are you connected to any companies in Korean company, any chance? South Korean companies? And then and I guess being doing business with Fuji, you're at liberty to work with the foreign company as well, right?
Yeah. We have a certain security measures set up internally to handle international customers. We do have a team in Korea, so happy to exchange contact information. We have a team and customers in Korea. We're looking for, you know, higher level partnerships in Korea for sure. So definitely happy to talk with you offline.
Okay, great. Sounds good. Yeah, I have an office in Seoul. I live here in USA, but I have an office in South Korea, which I'm actually flying out in about a week or so. So yeah.
Yeah, I just came back from Seoul 2 weeks ago. So,
oh, you did? Okay, great. Yeah, something I can do. You know, help you. Let me know. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome, Yuan, you're up.
Yeah, thank you, Melbs, for the presentation. I heard good things, very good things about you from my friend Daniel Franke from M Ventures. I'm wondering, where's your tech coming from? I mean, you know, the Henkels of the world, they would lick their fingers for your solution. They do, like, you know, silver conducting paste and other things forever. Why are they not coming up with such a solution? And where's your solution coming from? Is this like university research based and you have an exclusive license, or where does this come from?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part. So you're asking where the technology is coming from?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So
because I think the Henkels of the world, they do research on these topics as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, we spent, you know, before COVID, we spent a lot of time pounding the pavement. I would be in Asia, you know, 8-9 trips a year, really teaching the customer about MOD inks. Obviously, the world knows about nanoparticle inks and paste. MOD inks is relatively new on the market. There's a few people, companies that have products on the market. The differentiation that we have digging deeper into the weeds is we have the, sorry to go into chemistry, but we have the silver acetate formate reduction pathway patented. That is the cleanest way to decompose metals. And we have that core IP under our domain that's worldwide granted. And so, yeah, the customer, is taking some time to learn about the MOD inks. And now we see much more pull, especially into certain semiconductor applications and metallization. And Daniel's talked about you a lot. I think we shared some information with you a few months back, but definitely happy to connect. I think the last frontier for us that we haven't pushed into is automotive. I know you're strong there, and definitely would love to connect with you offline.
Yeah, let's catch up afterwards. Thank you.
Sure.
Perfect. We have time for one more question, and the floor is yours.
Hey, thank you so much, Asher. Great job, Melbs. Looks like you're definitely well on your way to success. Two questions. One, are you also based in Austin? As I think you shared in one of your slides that most of the team members are from Austin. And then two, what does a liquidity event for you look like? Thanks.
Ooh, that's a heavy question. So yeah, we are in Austin, Texas, although I'm traveling around all over the place these days. And in terms of liquidity event, I mean, we've always structured our business, to be, an acquisition target. We've been pretty lean on our raises. We've been really at it. We've grown our team to 40 people, and I think we've taken a pretty small amount of equity financing. We have no debt. So I think, we are an ideal target, and that's how we structure our business. And we've been having some ongoing discussions recently in the past 6 months. That activity seems to have picked up. Market's cooled a little bit, but not terribly. So hopefully that answers your question, and happy to talk further.
Yes. I fully support your thesis there. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Melbs. Next up, we have both Damien and Jamie from Trust Central presenting. Feel free to start sharing your screen and get going.
Great. Thank you, Asher.
Thanks, Asher. Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Curry. I'm the CEO of Trust Central, and I'll be presenting with our CTO, Damien Stolarz. And we're excited to share with you about our company. We empower zero trust cryptographic engagements. We fundamentally apply the AAA principles of cybersecurity. And we're really excited. We have 14 patents that we've secured over our company lifetime. And we all know it's not just the product that we invest in, it's the people and the who and the team. And we'll get to the entire team, but we're excited about our primary inventor, Dr. David Kravitz, who invented DSA at NSA, which tends to be a mouthful when I try to say that sometimes, and our co-founder, Matt Graham. And Dr. David Kravitz is a world-renowned cryptographer. And our vision enables secure, trustworthy data sharing and communications, prioritizing saving time and money, lives across various sectors, use cases, and environments that tend to be hostile. And our mission is to provide the novel user-friendly cryptography that ensures protection. We use certified enforced technology for cybersecurity with our suite of tools and techniques. So Damien will take it away.
Okay, so there's still a lot of problems with encryption. Encryption is very hard to use, and techniques for getting someone into a secure network are challenging. A lot of techniques out there in the market work when you have a protected network, when everyone's on the same VPN, when everyone's in a protected area. But as soon as you have people coming in and outside of that area, or even when you have an encrypted path, but there are attackers coming in who've managed to compromise and get in, you have the problem of interception of data, et cetera. And what this interception can cause when it's not, causing damage to infrastructure, when it's not causing damage through revelation of secrets and proprietary information, it's costing lives at the outside. And so there's still major problems that we're seeing in some of the conflicts and hacks that are going on around the world. Slide.
whoop, it's
Dr. Kravitz took a new approach with our co-founder, Matt Graham, to this, and they looked at it. Most of the solutions out there really focus on endpoint protection. They focus on centralized security, and they focus on assuming a very binary trust model. You're either in or you're out. Our solution, which we've been working on for many years, and like she said, got 14 patents on, and we've invested several $1 million in the development of, it approaches zero trust from a different direction by securing communication lines. The novel concept was to approach my communication with Jamie, or a device's communication with Jamie, or and then the transitive communication of me connecting with Jamie and with an IoT device. And by focusing on that, we create certificates, we create proof that only those two entities can communicate regardless of the transport. Next slide. This unique technology we call a cryptographically enhanced relationship, or a CER, or you could call it a certificate enhanced relationship if you want to be technical. And that certificate enhanced relationship is a one-to-one pairing between not only people, but the devices. So if I had a pairing between myself and someone else, it would be tied both to me uniquely and the device by which I was communicating. If someone tried to intercept that communication, even if I'm on my laptop instead of my phone, I'm not going to be able to decrypt that. Added to that are layers for algorithms for how you get people into these relationships, and algorithms for how you can transitively communicate and create trust scores. So if I trust someone and they trust someone else, a unique algorithm can be enacted. And then finally, we enforce the relationship. So we audit trail that, so that if someone is talking to someone else, and we want to be sure that in our relationship, you can only communicate under a certain set of rules, those certificates enforce those rules. Our markets are all over the place. There's so many different people that we're in trials with that are interested in the technology. We found legal is interested. We found that field hardware in IoT, drones. We've made several presentations to the energy market where people were interested in how it could alleviate some of the threats when you have incredibly high value assets and you need to let people in because of research or administration. Next slide. And then finally, as a demonstration of our technology, we have an application in the App Store, which is a secure messenger. Notably, people use this messenger even on top of other transport. So they'll use it in conjunction with Signal, they'll use it in conjunction with iMessage, but it'll add a layer of specificity so that no one could, even if someone compromised those messaging platforms, which governments and other interceptions can do, you know that the message will not be compromised. And what that app demonstrates is our core engine. Our core engine implements our patented technology, and it solves a variety of use cases and can be embedded in other people's websites, applications, and hardware endpoints. Back to you, Jamie.
Morning.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble with the slides and the sharing of the screen, but in terms of our traction, we have heavily focused on the R&D and the patent security, along with our development and the foundation of our use cases. And we have several customers in the drone space that we're working with, as well as high-level cybersecurity, State Department, the medical industry. Damien mentioned some of our target markets. But our current product in the App Store, anybody can download that right now, and it's an application that can be designed across IoT devices as well. And so that's our ask, is really, being able to partner up and work more with some of those civilian enterprises and military customers. And we don't need any money right now, so I know there's a lot of VCs on the call, and our current ask really is just to focus on customer acquisition and applying and expanding our use cases. And this is our team. We did notice that somebody with Micron is on, and our part of our engineering and architecture team have designed with Micron as well, their Authenta and Triathlon product. And thanks for letting us share. How are we doing on time?
Awesome. Well, that's we definitely finished the time. All right, perfect. Let's open up the floor for any questions. We're gonna do the same format. Whoever raises their hand can go right ahead. Han, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, a great presentation and a great solution. I could tell that you guys invested so much for this. Appreciate that, actually. Were you at a Black Hat any chance?
Yes, the one in Vegas.
Right. Okay, I was there. I just I recognize your name. That's why I says I was there too. But yeah, okay. I just didn't get a chance to connect it. But yeah, what is your competition and competitive landscape look like in your perspective?
So the competition is a hard ask because we're using cryptography in a way that nobody's ever used it. So there is other techniques that people are using, but we started our patent portfolio very early before even the word IoT was used. In our first patent, we used it. So competitively, of course, there's a lot of other companies that are using cryptography, but the way that we do it, we haven't been able to identify a competitor yet.
Okay,
I think
that's why I asked.
And I could comment on that. Just the closest would be like I said, there's a lot of people who focus on endpoint protection, and we focus on communication line protection or the relationship protection. So the complementary solution would be, or the substitute solutions for us in market are people who focus on traditional, almost PGP style solutions or KPI, centralized encryption solutions.
Right. Yeah. That's why I have some cybersecurity background, so I don't think I've seen that many. That's why. Yeah, it's a compliment question. That's why. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
Awesome. We have time for one more question, but there's a few questions in the chat if no one raises their hand, because there's definitely some interesting people in the chat.
And I'm answering some questions in the chat itself. Somebody asked, does it protect against man in the middle, telecom? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have people who are using it on top of Signal, and we have various use cases in military where people have talked about once they lose access to their VPN, they literally can't phone home or talk to the mothership or talk to the base. With our technology, you can actually be on a dodgy connection, use it, and it bundles both the authentication and the authorization into it, so that you could phone home with our technology over the bad connection. Yvonne, did you have a question?
I have a quick question. I mean, I'm not a cyber expert, but someone mentioned briefly PGP. I mean, what's the major advantage and difference just between having two parties exchanging keys and having just their communication encrypted with a secure key?
Absolutely. So we leverage that, and that's one part of it. But what we do is we use the advantage is that we have a cryptographic technique to actually get two people paired up. So normally in pure crypto, you have to meet on a park bench in a distant place and have a one-time pad and exchange those keys. We have an algorithm that gets you from no connection to new connection, even though you are remote. And then once you have that connection, we tie it either to, for say, if you both had a cryptocurrency wallet, we could tie it to that, or we could tie it to the secure enclave or the TPM in your devices. And so now you have a connection that is literally Yvonne and Yvonne's one iPhone, and then Damien and Damien's one iPad. And unless the adversary has one of those two devices and is one of the two of us, they can't get at the message. So, I mean, obviously it's not resilient against guy with gun to your head, but in terms of man in the middle, it's solved.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Trust Central. We gotta keep moving on time.
Keep going.
Thank you for your presentation. Next up, we have Scythe. Feel free to queue up the slides.
Bonus points for pronouncing it correctly. It is neither Scythe like science nor Sith like Star Wars. So I am Bryson Bort. I am the founder and CEO of Scythe. We are an A-round funded company of around 55 folks that was led by Ron Gula, Paladin Capital, and then recently Energy Impact Partners. So we have a strong play in the energy industry with 25% of residential electric customers being covered by the customers that use us. So the problem is this is cybersecurity. Lots and lots of tools. Also, if I can be so bold, a lot of nerd solutions for nerd problems. The largest risk surface area in any organization is the people. And yet so many of these tools fail to account for how the people aspect works. And so the problem we have here is, first of all, security is always the afterthought. Security is the secondary concern. Because of Target in 2012 and 2013, we have a lot of innovation and investment and attention that is coming in. And then more recently, the rise of ransomware that rampages both across the haves with resources and the have-nots like schools, hospitals, and municipalities makes it a common problem. But we have limited resources to do it, which is why we do look to these tools. No CISO, CIO, or C-suite was ever fired for having too many tools. But the problem is, how do we actually make them ours? 75% of all tools are either not installed, installed by default, or incorrectly installed, which means 3/4 of our investment already out of the gate isn't doing what we want it to do. How do we get more out of it? At the same time, the threat, because security is defined by the threat, this is part of what makes the discipline so difficult and why it's never been quantifiable, is always evolving to take that landscape, take advantage of it, and accomplish their goals, which, as we all know, is happening. So the solution starts with visibility and insight. What do we have? What are the strengths and weaknesses of who we are today? And not just across technology, but with people in the loop. So if you think about something like vulnerability management, a vulnerability is not a vulnerability is not a vulnerability. It only is a vulnerability in as much as there is risk to us. And so any of these tools, any of our potential posture, we need to understand it within the business context so that we can prioritize it correctly. So how did we do that? So we are what's called a post-access platform. If you look at the entire attack chain of how attackers do things, they recon, they learn about what neighborhood and what house they want to break into. Initial access, they break into that house. And when you look at that, that's not something that we can have complete control of because there's an unlimited number of ways, including non-technical, to accomplish those. But once they've gained access, that post-access space, that's not only where they make their money, that's also where the business actually has control around the architecture and the defensive solutions that they employ. So what we do is we look at, well, what are all the ways that an attacker can work in that post-access environment? And it's actually quite simple. They need to communicate and need to do things on hosts. So we turn those into individual Legos. And now you have the ability to recreate any attack safely and realistically on your own terms in your own environment to understand not just the technology of what controls are doing, but also how people are in the loop. Another way to think of this, we're kind of like that red team in the box. If you have your own red team, we're a force multiplier for them to drive all the intelligence and actions that they can do. And if you're one of the have-nots where you can't afford that, we're that red team in a box where we're constantly updating the latest intelligence and activities. So with one click, you can bring that in and see for real what's happening. If you look at how threat intelligence is done today, threat intelligence is a $10 billion market that is really good at giving us a static playing field of very basic blocks that we can ingest, but are very easy for an attacker to move beyond, which is why for all of that investment we have, attackers continue to succeed. We enable you to move your organization to know where you are, to know exactly where you stand, and to be able to stop those threats of tomorrow because it is in your environment. So how are we doing this? We grew starting in 2016, really looking at the red team perspective, how to create these things, how to make the modules, how to make it so it was easy for anybody to build their own Legos to scale that assessment on their own terms. What we want to be is what I call middleware for malware. Every part of an organization has a security use case. The problem is always been resource constrained because it's primarily a people-driven thing. Well, what if we can establish this testing, which is accessible directly to a blue team, directly to a system administrator, directly to developers, and then going down market, something that's in a easy button for SMB to take advantage of through the natural relationships they already have with MSPs and MSSPs. So we're about 70 customers today. We have a sustained growth of about 2.5x year over year. And where we're going on this roadmap is going into adjacent areas because we have this technology that allows us to easily spread that use case to get to the blue team and to the yellow team. So defenders can use us, IT can use us, developers can use us. In short, here's our leadership team, which includes accomplished executives from across industry, including George Ortiz, who built the risk management program at Citigroup, and then probably one of the more famous people in threat intelligence, Jake Williams. What we're looking for is we're coming up about a quarter or two away from going into our B round raise. So we're looking for investors. A lot of what makes that middleware roadmap work are all of the product integrations. So strategic investors, strategic relationships will help make that something that we can take advantage of. Speaking to investors on this call, Splunk actually on their own built the self-licking ice cream cone of an attack range that would automatically programmatically generate all these threats with our platform and then immediately build the detections into the Splunk tool. That was something that they unveiled back in 2019. So I'm open for questions. I believe I'm under time.
Thank you so much, Bryson. Yeah, go ahead. We'll answer again questions in the order in which hands are raised. Damien, go ahead.
Hey, Bryson. So in terms of, you were talking about the security posture, like on the inside is where you can start, they've already broken in and then you're trying to have architecture in-house that deals with that. Do you have a way of like determining who's more risky and who's less risky in an org? Do you have like algorithm, you know what I mean? Assessing, if you have a larger org, trying to figure out where the risk points are.
So let me be clear. We are generating the threat behaviors. So how the measuring stick of anything with security is by being able to realistically replicate the threat to do that. That helps you drive the detections. That helps you drive the business context and the value. I'm not another Archer platform that is telling you this is what's of value to you. What I'm able to do is show you everything that could be done, and then we can integrate with data sets to show you what the context of that is.
Awesome, thanks.
Perfect. We have time for one last question. And I think there's someone in the audience who wanted to ask. If they want to write it in the chat, we'll just ask it out loud here, and we'll keep things going from there. In the meantime, Bryson, definitely drop your contact info in the chat as well so people can contact you. Perfect.
There we go, putting my info
Awesome.
in chat. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right, with that, we're going to move on to the next and last presentation in the open topic session, Advanced American Technologies. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much for having me. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, loud and clear.
I'm gonna go ahead and share screen. And get it up. Why is it not showing? Give me 1 sec. It's not showing up on my screen for some reason.
There we go.
You guys see it okay?
Yeah, we see it. You just have to go to
Yep,
present
got it.
slideshow. Perfect.
Sorry about that. Wasn't showing up on my preview there. Thanks for having me. I'm Rob Grigsby, the president of Advanced American Technologies. I started this company about 5 years ago, as it stands right now, and was able to grow it pretty profusely with some help from some folks that I've had the opportunity to work with over the past 5 years. We're a privately held company. We're located in Huntsville, Alabama. We have about a 4,000 square foot manufacturing facility here, and we also have a facility up in Knoxville, Tennessee, and are growing daily right now. It looks like we're going to be getting some pretty significant movement on some efforts that I'll show you later. We're basically an advanced materials company. We're using artificial intelligence to assist us with basically formulating new products. The material is a liquid that turns into a solid, and I'll describe that a little bit further. The team that I've got here, we've got about 130 to 140 years worth of experience in both international and privately held companies, as well as military. Some of the companies we're working with, both locally here in Huntsville and also nationwide, to incorporate both of our materials, but also to solve problems for them. What Atlas is basically a resin-based system. We use a binder that's proprietary that allows us to combine different solids with the material, with the curing agents, with different aggregates to get a composite product. So that allows us to do very unique things with the product. For example, right now we have an aluminum-based product that does not conduct electricity, does not corrode at all, and is a poured product. So what you're left with after curing is a solid which emulates specific mechanical properties or thermal properties that you're looking for. So some of the benefits of this: non-permeable, fracture resistant, cryogenic. I won't go into all of these, but you can see it's pretty significant performance characteristics. NASA, for example, is very interested in the cryogenic temperatures and the fact that it acts not unlike a metal. So I would say we sit squarely between a metal and a plastic in how we perform. We can tailor that, like I mentioned, with different additives to increase those mechanical performance or thermal or radiation shielding, for example. So we are lightweight. We're about 38% lighter than aluminum. We can create these formulations very quickly as long as we have the raw materials in stock. You can take a design and have it in your hands within 2 days right now. Ideally, we want to get to the point where you can have it in 2 hours. So what's nice too is the aggregates that you select can actually be from in situ, from the area that you select from. So I'll take oil and gas industry, for example. If you take the Arabian Peninsula with the silica base that they have available to them, that can actually be integrated into this system so that you build from the raw materials around you. And that can be done either on the military side of the house or the commercial side of the house. And then you have far more materials available to you than just having to go after your rare earth or raw materials that you have to mine, for example. And it's locked up. There we go. One thing that's nice about this is the carbon footprint is significantly reduced over traditional foundry. You do not have to have mining. You are recyclable in that you can take this material and burn the resins back off of it and are left with those solids back into it. And you can also, what we're working on right now is carbon capture and basically stabilizing and sequestering that material. We are AI driven. We're working with a company taking the data that we've collected over many years of testing with different laboratories and government agencies and companies that you see listed here. Like I said, varying anywhere from ballistics to radiation, corrosion, et cetera. And taking that data and put that into that database with the company that we're working with, Archirhythm, who develops the database collection and then the AI that is driving that. We are working with the US government on a AI system for lightweight components for rocketry, for example.
1 minute warning.
In this case, you have X, Y, and Z that you're looking for. You would basically put that into the computer, and cost can be one of those variables that you're looking for. And it would spit out the formulation, would go right to the mixer. Different applications, you have a spray system, a casting system. We can extrude something as simple as a pipe. We can spray the material, and we are working on additive right now, which would change the dynamic of additive to go to a planar deposit system as opposed to a point deposit system. Markets, Archirhythm, like I mentioned, we have 2 SIBRs right now. We have 2 more SIBRs pending with them. We have Project Lockheed Martin. Y12 is a mercury remediation project that we're working with them to basically stabilize and quarantine mercury in place so that they can demolish the buildings. And then American Wind is a small business here in here in Huntsville that we're working with to develop a wind energy solution set, which will end up being about 80% of their product line. Other projects that we have going on, I won't read them to you, but NASA is one of the bigger ones that we're playing with. Again, Lockheed Martin on the tooling side of the house as well. We're a scalable system. It basically goes to what you need is the large mixers, whatever scale you need for that. As far as oven curing goes, depends on what size product you want to produce. As long as the oven is big enough, you can cure it in that. And then the microwave technology is allowing us to do the extrusions. We are working with Linex, who has a brand new facility, who actually can be a mix house for us as far as scaling it very quickly to meet any needs that we have. And then we have our own spray company in Knoxville that is designing all of our spray systems.
Let's start wrapping up.
That's it.
Okay, perfect. All right, Olivia.
Hi, Rob. Thank you very much for the presentation. Just one question from me. From a business model perspective, could you please give us a bit more details? Because I understand you have the binder, then you have, I guess, your proprietary AI that helps you to create new materials. You probably have some machines that will provide like the solution to the client. So are you selling something? Do you give it as a rental? Or it's like by project, so if you can.
So our intent is to license this. We keep our product as trade secret. And so very similar to Coca-Cola, our intent is to license the use of equipment, and then you purchase the material from us for whatever specification you need. And then you'd be able to manufacture that on site in most cases.
And then you are selling also the machine to them, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, I see. And then it come to you to use the consumables of the binders.
That's correct. Yes,
recurringly. Okay,
yes,
so
very similar to a Coca-Cola dispenser. You would have that, you buy that, have it at your store, and then we would ship in the Coca-Cola syrup. Very similar to that.
Okay, very, very interesting business model. Thank you.
Perfect. Han, you're up.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, actually, really brilliant product and idea. Actually, I like the fact that you are using AI algorithm to formulate the product and also modular production. Can you tell me just a little bit about how you started the company? Just curious.
Sure. I was retired military, and when I got out, I was looking for a solution for aerospace tooling, and found the material and bought the rights to the material, and have the actual inventors on our team still. They're a member of the team as well. And so we collectively have been working together to really expand that, the use case for it. As we learned more about the material and found that it had different applications, we expanded into the advanced material side of the house and took it to a completely different level.
Gotcha. And I know you work with the Japanese National Security Agency or something like that, right? So you are at Liberty.
Yeah, Japan Homeland Security Corporation, which is a company over there that's actually, we met them through Linex. They're a distributor of ours in Japan, and are working to get that incorporated into the Fukushima nuclear site.
Gotcha. Okay. If you have an interest in expanding to other markets, such as South Korea, please let me know. Okay.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. Yeah, we have no problem with that at all.
Okay, great.
Perfect. Last question, Yuan.
Hey, Rob. Yeah, I just have a question about the manufacturing speed and accuracy. Could you share more, a little bit more about that, especially when it compares to typical additive or like injection molding?
So with injection molding, you're getting a solid that is basically, that is getting melted down and put into it. So you're getting the same consistency of product that you would get out of any product that you would in a sort of a chemical plant kind of manufacturing process. So we measure down to the grams with regards to the materials. To make sure that we're getting the consistency. We were looking for certified products that come in the door with our certs. So yeah, we're very confident with the consistency. We do testing on site with our salt. Once we cured ours out, and we would do the same thing with you to make sure that you're getting a quality product that you're expecting on that end.
Perfect. All right. If the question's quick, we can take it. Well, let's try to be quick.
Yeah, real quick. Two-part question. Did you guys test in how far of a negative temperatures does your material, does it get impacted by any means? And then two, how does the product, you know, if a simple screw is made, how does that compare to the like regular standard metal screw? Is it similar or is there a difference?
So first question, it was taken down to cryogenic, was minus 190 was what it was taken down to. It increased the impact resistance 15x and the hardness by 8%. So it's an anomalous material from that standpoint as far as cold environments operate at. I'm sorry, the second question, I apologize.
Yeah, so the second question is if we put into like a screw or a panel
Yeah.
through your product.
From a tensile strength, yeah. So here's what's unique about this material is that, so I'll give you an example, like right now we sit at about 8,000 tensile, about 8,200 tensile, but I can modify that by additive. We're working with a window manufacturer, for example, right now, which when we put it in their test fixture, it had too much flexural strength. So we will go in and we will take and select a additive, let's say in this case, fiberglass, a chopped fiberglass, and add that to that in some ratio that increases that flexural strength. So we can do exactly the same thing. When we found that different solids that we select, aluminum to ceramics to silicas, all change their dynamics. And so you can have a curve associated with each one of those, which makes it ideal for AI selections for different material properties and how they work together. And that's why we're getting ready to do about 1,400 samples of material for the AI database for these different attributes so that we can actually start building that database out even farther for the government.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rob. I think that's all we have time for, but we really appreciate it. That was a fantastic pitch.
And I'll put my email up on the chat. So I apologize, I didn't put it in my briefing.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. So with that wraps up the open session. We're now moving on to the clean tech panel. We're not going to go around and introduce everyone. I'm going to quickly read everyone off. That being said, when you do ask a question, please do a quick introduction for this round, just in case there are new people who joined who didn't hear your introduction, or if you're new and you're just joining right now, also so people can know who you are and where you're coming from. But from Canelo Finance, we have Olivier Deman. From VU Ventures, we have Kip Stringfellow. From St. Gobain, we have Adarsh Sokar. From Energy Capital Ventures, we have Stefano Deliasso. From Playground Global, we have Victoria Chernow. From Hypertherm Ventures, we have Yuan Liu. From Pangea Ventures, we have Matthew Cohen. From Usako Group, we have Han Ko. From TDK Ventures, we have Tina Tso Kwang. From The Engine, we have Chloe Olzinger. From Splunk, we have Ann Mera. From the DIU, we have Marshall Wodakowski. Sam unfortunately couldn't make it today, but from Seraphim Space, we have Maureen Haverty. And I believe Yoav was not able to make it today as well. With that being said and done, the first company to present in the clean tech session is Solaris. The floor is yours. Feel free to share your screen.
All right. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it. Just you have to start the presentation.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Pleasure to present, and thank you for giving me that opportunity. Solaris as a company is about integrated solutions for actually generating solar energy. We are manufacturers. We manufacture solar panels. And when we say integrated, we integrate production of electric power, which is classic photovoltaic, together with hot water. So that quadruples actually harvesting of energy from the square meter of the surface. So what we are solar energy company. We've already invested about 15 million in technology. We operate, we sell, we install in 3 centers. US is the newest. We moved into US in November 2021. So less than a year. South Africa, Netherlands, those are operational centers. We got a sizable number of installations already. And I just mentioned we have overall efficiency about 4 times better than conventional photovoltaic panel. We're here after money. We are raising funds. So what I wanted to walk through is investment highlights. We have a huge market with solar. And we have, as you all know, unprecedented government support. We have Defense Production Act involved, Build America, Make America. We have Inflation Reduction Act with sizable benefits and support to solar. So the market is huge, the time is right. We have advanced technology, it is patent protected, it's proprietary. And I'll talk more about our business model strategy and our team, management and investors. To reiterate what we're after combined markets of heating and cooling and electric. Heating and cooling consumes about 50% of total final energy produced, and only 1% of that right now comes from solar. So the sky is the limit. We have room to grow, and going that to 3%, for us, it's 300% growth of the market share. So we're quite looking forward to get into that market. Two of our major products are shown here. One is concentrating on the left with mirrors. It generates hotter water and less electric power. And the one closer to the center is flat, same size as classic photovoltaic panel, uses same components, generates more electric, a bit less solar. And as I said, we have patent protection from that. On performance, we generate about 4 times more energy. What it means that typically installations are limited by the size. You have your parking lot, you have your roof, you don't have more space. And all you can generate is from your surface that you have, from your square feet. We generate 4 times more renewable energy than PV, so that attracts majority of our customers. That's example of traction and performance. This particular Hilton, where the graph is shown for energy consumption, was not trusting us on our word. They hired third-party independent testing, and they ran those tests through 2019, 2020 to show that energy is reduced and how much is reduced. As you see on the right, we have fairly good traction in hospitality with Hiltons and Radissons and Sheratons, and we have tractions in commercial and industrial production. Again, as I'm saying about scaling, many renewable energy approaches like wind, hydro, or nuclear, they are hard to scale down. You cannot really build mini hydro or mini nuclear just yet. There is tri-fusion. Solar PVT is easy to scale down, and that gives much larger market penetration opportunity and much larger number of smaller installations, which is stability and breadth of penetration. Our business model envisions direct sale of equipment and selling solar energy as a service in proportions tilting. Initially more direct sales and less of installed. It requires more capex. Later down the road, more investments into capex and more of a model of sustainable revenue generation over years. Current business plan calls for growth, organic growth in the United States in 23-24, and eventually going public. That is part of the mandate from our shareholders, so we are on that road. Our financial expectations are in 2024, we go profitable and cash positive, with positive EBITDA, positive net income, and positive cash flow, with fairly healthy incremental growth. Our team is awesome, multi countries, have good support from Netherlands, and we're developing here in the States. We're fairly early in the States. Shareholders, bottom left, a really strong group of shareholders, couple of them are public, and they support us. However, as you look to the right, we are raising 2 to 5 million seed round to transition after that to 10-15 million of Series A. Our use of funds is expansion in the United States and expansion of manufacturing. We got 47,000 square feet space in Florida, which we need to fill up with inventory and equipment. So it's CapEx and inventory finance. And I believe I'm under time. And if I cut some corners short, I can roll back and answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Boris. That was fantastic. Just a reminder, for this round, we're going to quickly introduce yourselves. Take 5 seconds to introduce yourself before you ask a question. But Olivia, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so Olivier Demont from Canelo Finance in Switzerland. We basically invest in a company, and we help them transition from selling devices, hardware, selling basically services and data analytics. So we empower hardware as a service business model. Boris, thank you very much for your presentation. For me to understand, when you say that you kind of produce 4 times more electricity, so what does it mean in terms of yield, like electricity yield? Because typical photovoltaic solar parlors are around like 10%, 13%. We know that we have a theoretical yield that is limited. So this is my first question. What does it mean in terms of yield? And secondly, in terms of lifetime, what are you looking at? So how long can you leave those solar panels there? And how do you afterwards take it down and recycle, or how it works?
Okay. Yes, thank you for your questions. In terms of yield, typical photovoltaic panel, silicon, converts about 20% of normal incidence solar energy into electric. We, in addition to that 20, which we do harvest as electric energy, we get another 60% of harvesting into thermal energy, roughly call it hot water running through the pipes, so a hybrid. So my total harvested energy is 80%. That's how I count 4x. 1x electric, I cannot do miracles with electric, and 3 more x's from thermal. In terms of life and expectancy, we do standard 10-year warranty, but life expectancy is 25. We offer extended contracts, extended maintenance contracts. For additional money, we can follow the equipment for 25 years.
Okay, no, that's clear. Thank you very much.
All right.
Perfect. Next up is Tina. Tina, go right ahead.
Thank you. I'm Tina Tosuko, Wong Investment Director from TDK Ventures. We are early stage investor in clean tech, climate tech, energy transition, and digital transformation. And I have a question here. My understanding is that there are quite a number of solar thermal companies out there, and the differentiation is how high the temperature can you get to, because if it's a low heat, then the use case may be limited. If it's a high heat, then maybe there can be like broader applications. So could you please comment on that? And also, what's the key innovation for these technologies compared to other solar thermal out there?
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate the question. There are other companies in that space, and the differentiation is important, however subtle. What you refer to as lower temperature PVT, that is bad thermal insulation. What that amounts to, for example, in Colorado, to which we just recently priced a fairly large installation. In Colorado, you can have sunny day and 5 degrees Fahrenheit. If you pump ambient temperature water to the roof, it comes back colder. You're actually chilling the water. You're not heating the water because outside is so cold. That's what most of the PVT technologies do. Out of about 25 companies that I know of in that space, about 22 of them do low temperature PVT. We do high temperature PVT. We thermally insulate to no limits. And on a cold sunny day with 0 degrees Fahrenheit, we can still bring hot water to about 140 degrees F from the panel. So that's the differentiation. And sorry, I forgot the second part of the question. Could you briefly remind?
Yeah, can you comment on the intellectual property? What is the key invention?
Intellectual property, actually, we have patents on the left, on the concentrated. That is fairly unique, and shapes and how we do it on both sides The middle is not protected by intellectual property per se. If you do broad definition, we have trade secrets on manufacturing approach inside the house that nobody knows. There is some juice in it, but not patents.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Right, I'm going to make a real quick, I'm the last guy, Hanko, Yusaco Group. We're an international venture capital company based in the US and South Korea, but invest in European company as well. Question to you is that I know this kind of in line with Tina's question here, but you have a product called the PC2S and then power collector H72 or something. What's the difference? I mean, I saw that on your slide, but I was really curious on that one. You had two pictures of two products on the picture, but PC2S, I got that, but second one, I didn't quite get that. You using mirrors or something, right? Both of them?
The one which is PC2S, which is on the left, it's called power collector two-sided. So photovoltaics are on both sides. The one you see visible, the other one from the bottom that you don't see, and that's why we call it 2S. So it's power collector two-sided. That's our internal abbreviation. We call it for external CPVT or concentrating PVT, photovoltaic thermal. The other one is flat, so we call it just PVT, photovoltaic thermal. And AH72 is referring to 72 standard solar cells. We use industry conventional solar cells like everybody else, buy them in bulk. So it's 72, it's 6 by 12.
Great.
I didn't come up with abbreviations, not the most beautifully looking, but at least makes some sense.
Right. Okay. Great. Yeah. Now I was merely curious about the functionality of the difference between those two products. I got it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. We're gonna have to keep moving. Thank you so much, Boris, and please leave your contact information in the chat. Next up, we have low impact technologies, and feel free to start sharing your slides now.
Yes, hopefully everyone can see that. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for your time. The world is facing a water scarcity shortage. For example, in the MENA region, the World Bank has estimated that 14% of potential GDP may be lost by 2050, but 82% of wastewater is still not recycled. In Australia, mines consume approximately 4% of the total annual freshwater usage. In the USA, 22 billion barrels of oil-produced water is disposed of every year and injected back into the ground. And in South America, it takes 50 tons of fresh water on average to make 1 ton of lithium. Some research suggests that even as high as 2,800 tons. And this is in the triangle where about 2/3 of the lithium deposits are found within the world. Low Impact Technologies is looking to help to solve this problem by using concentrated solar thermal energy that's directed directly onto our proprietary horizontal distillation column in order to extract water from these unusable resources. How we work is the fact that we pump the input water into our horizontal column. The thermal energy is directed onto the column, which causes the water to be extracted via distillation and steamed off. We run under a vacuum, which allows us to reduce the issues in regards to scaling, but also to be able to direction the flow of the gas back down countercurrently against the input stream in order to allow us to reuse the heat of vaporization or the energy for the heat of vaporization to reheat the input stream as it's coming in and assist with the solar thermal energy that's being reflected on top of it. And that's where we get our multiple effect happening within the unit. We have 2 columns with which we can utilize. One of them is a distillation column, which concentrates brines further and provides pure water. And the other one is a dewatering column, which extracts all the water and either provides dry salts or minerals, depending on what the input stream is. So for example, in terms of hypersaline brine discharge, we provide pure water and dried salts. In the mining sector, with mine tailings or waste facilities, we provide pure water and dried minerals,
whereby they can be dry stacked for safer storage, or also be remined to extract further resource. And in the agricultural and residential effluent sector, we can provide pure water and also produce biosolids and even biochar to help with carbon sinks. We're applicable to about 12 of the 17 United Nations Sustainability Development Goals. So what does this mean? Well, basically for our customers, once you deal with the water, you can extract further resources from these waste facilities. By producing distilled water, we have the opportunity to produce green hydrogen on site for energy requirements. And once you get to the dried materials and the solids within these waste facilities, there's the opportunity to extract the rare earth elements or critical minerals that have been concentrated within these sites, as well as also reprocess the ores and a low carbon footprint, which allows you to be able to extract further resource from your waste site. In regards to our business model, we have a manufacturing and distribution factory set up in Fletcher, North Carolina, which will supply all global regions. We've identified 5 verticals in the mining industry, in industrial processing, agriculture, green hydrogen, as well as utility space. We're penetrating these verticals with distribution partners, selling these units to start off with a buyback option. And then once market acceptance is gained, we will roll into a per kiloliter or a per unit service model to ensure ongoing revenues. Our competitive advantages with conventional technologies is that we can basically extract pure water from almost any unusable resource. We don't use filters or membranes, so we can hit far higher concentrations than current conventional methods. We have the ability to provide zero liquid discharge options and also return the water. We operate by solar thermal power during the day, hence lowering the capex cost of processing these waste facilities, and we're scalable. Each unit is modular. We can either use 1 unit or use fields of hundreds of units, depending on how big the task is at hand for the customer. In 2023, we're looking to be delivering 17 units into California for the irrigation runoff in the Tulare Imperial Valley. We've got 5 units in Chile for concentrating lithium-infused mineral brines to provide fresh water and feedstock for downstream processing. 2 units in the MENA region for processing reverse osmosis hypersaline brine to zero liquid discharge, and also 4 units in Australia, which will be operating within the oil and gas industry for produced water and tailings facilities. We're looking to raise $6 to $7 million in the very near future, which will assist with us implementing our 24-hour operation to produce green hydrogen on site, on demand, to operate during low solar or nighttime operations, hence decreasing number of units required because it increases our efficiencies, and also invest in increasing the team to enable further development of our target international markets. Thank you very much. Pleased to answer any questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nick. Again, we'll answer in the order of hands raised, and please give a quick little introduction when you do ask a question. So Tina, go ahead, followed by Kep.
Yes, thanks so much for the presentation, Nick. The question is, so this is the integration of the different pieces of the technology is the key invention of this company, is that correct? Like the solar thermal, that's already... Go ahead, please.
Yeah, sorry, the key invention is that we actually manufacture our parabolic mirrors out of structural thermal composite plastic parts, which has lowered the capex compared to current conventional mirrors. And also we have proprietary on all the distillation and dewatering technology that's housed within the focal point of the mirrors as well. So covered by a suite of about 11 patents, I believe, and there's and also a background suite of about 35 patents in regards to the technology and the manufacturing and product processes.
So the evaporation part is embedded in the solar thermal mirror?
Yes, it is. Yes. So where we differ from standard concentrated solar power or CSP is that we don't utilize any sort of heating fluid, medium or mineral salts that then goes into a separate distillation device. Everything happens within the unit itself in the footprint, and that's how it works. So all the power that we concentrate onto the column is utilized to process the material that we're putting through the system.
Okay, and can you sort of give a rough idea how much the evaporation capacity this can provide compared to if it's to use like the existing conventional method?
Each unit, which has about 300 square meters of aperture, we concentrate about 1 million BTUs per hour, and we produce in a 10-hour day 30,000 litres of distillate, or extract 30,000 litres of distillate from the input stream. Input stream is varied depending on whether you're trying to get zero liquid discharge or just trying to take a certain amount of water off, like for example in the lithium market, to get the brine to a point of where it can be processed in the next stage.
Thank you.
Okay. Time for someone else to ask Matt. Or Kip, do you still have a question?
Yeah, quick question. Thanks, Nick, for your presentation again. Water is certainly a huge need in those areas that you discussed. Can you go over the business model again really quickly? Are you selling these systems on site, or it's a service model where it's more like a subscription, paying for water over time? Could you go over that, please?
Yeah, so to start off with, we need to seed the market and develop the market. So we are actually selling into partners, so mining partners, oil and gas partners to start off with. We'll have buyback options in regards to that. We'll also move into a build or manage model and provide a per unit basis, subject to what they require. So for example, in the oil industry in the US, you have short-term contracts. They want you to go in, clean up the site facility, process the water, and move off. Mining companies also generally don't want to be water management companies. They like to dig holes, so they prefer to pay on a per unit basis as well. But in order to start the process, we're selling into the market and working with partners to prove out the tech.
Okay.
Okay, great, thanks.
We need to keep moving on questions, Matthew.
Yeah. So, quick question from a customer perspective. What is the value driver here? Is it around sort of wastewater treatment and regulatory compliance, or is it more around this is an interesting technology because now we can recover salts and minerals, which we can then monetize? Like, it probably depends a little bit on the customer sector, but that wasn't totally clear to me. And it sounds like that could be an important component for why someone might choose this over more traditional tailing ponds or whatever.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Tailing ponds, there's about 18,000 tailings ponds or waste facilities in the world. They've now become essentially an unlimited liability to the mine owner. They have to be remediated. They can no longer now just be left to sit as a waste facility going forwards. So they actually have to clean up the water. They need to do it in a sustainable manner, because we are actually cheaper than conventional methods for the condition of the material that we're actually processing. And then at the same time, it then offers the ability to extract further resource down the track. So for example, in regards to reverse osmosis brine in the Middle East, that's generally being discharged into the Red Sea, but that's been causing potential issues. There's now a region within MENA called NEOM that's actually banned reverse osmosis brine being put back into the sea, and they have to go to zero liquid discharge. And they're also looking at what we can do with regards to fractional precipitation and extracting the more valuable minerals like the gypsums and magnesiums and so on from the sodium chloride in order to provide further resource, instead of just providing one big massive pile of waste that needs to be dealt with. I hope that sort of answered the question.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thanks. And just quickly, I'm Matt Cohen of Pangea Ventures. We're a venture capital firm investing in positive impact, hard tech kinds of innovations. Forgot to say that at the beginning.
All good. Thank you, Matthew. And then last question, but quickly, Marshall Witkowski, go ahead.
Thanks. Yep, Marshall Witkowski with Defense Innovation Unit. Question, have you tested the system with removing PFAS from water?
No, but it has been raised, and it's something we definitely want to look at in the future. We believe that we are able to extract the water without the PFAS, but we have not tested that as yet. But that's definitely something that is something we want to be looking at in the very near future.
Thank you.
Perfect. And with that, we're going to move on. Thank you so much, Nick. Next up, we have Strata Sustainability. Feel free to start sharing your screen when you guys are ready.
Hello, sorry about that. I will do that. I am Jeff Starren of Strata Sustainability. Give me one moment to share screen and I will get started here. As I do that, I will just quickly introduce myself. I'm Jeff Starren. I'm a co-founder of Strata Sustainability, and I want to thank everyone here for the time and panelists and everyone else. Gosh, I'm having a little technical difficulty. My apologies.
Sure. Do you want me to share?
Here we go. I got it. Sorry about that. All right, we should be seeing it now.
Yep.
Everyone see that? Thank you very much. Okay, so Strata is an environmental services company and historically focused on waste, recycling, and composting in emerging markets and small island developing states. And we currently do project management for remediations and larger municipal scale transformations of open dumps into ecology parks and resource recovery parks in the Caribbean. And we're launching a new business line that's applicable to clean tech with elements of carbon mitigation and green power. So this concept is born from our experience in the Latin America and Caribbean region, dealing with waste from resorts, private islands, and private communities that need to preserve their ecosystems. And largely, it comes from our belief in distributed systems for waste management and recycling, meaning decentralized, small-scale sorting and processing as opposed to traditional hub-based high-volume facilities. So think of some neighborhood-based solar installations that have been popping up to replace some reliance on power from the larger grid. This is similar, but just a different utility. So the product, if you will, is what we call a mini material recovery facility, or we like to use the term microecology park. It's like the recycling center you might find in larger metro areas, but on a tiny scale, with the primary goal of bringing these facilities, whether they be resorts, private islands, private communities, to as close to zero landfill as possible. And the system relies on circularity. The cost of doing this kind of intensive sorting, shredding, processing is offset by the value of the products that result. And those products are not the traditionally understood things like aluminum and plastics that you might recycle, although that's part of it, but it's related to other assets that I'll touch on later. And so the other benefits of the system are things such as carbon footprint reduction, health and safety of residents and guests, reduce nuisances, and certainly in the case of these small island developing states, reducing export to these nasty, unlined, unmanaged dumps that are the norm. So the whole facility is designed with a limited footprint in multiple senses of that word, based on a series of modified ISO containers with a carport style roof. It's not afraid to be an outward facing, meaning clean and presentable for guests, visitors, residents. Here we can see some of the elements comprising the facility. It's a low speed, high torque shredders that are at the heart of the system. Inbound materials are sorted manually on custom sorting tables, segregated into commodities, shredded. Recyclables go one place into pallet-sized Gaylord boxes. Organics go into composting using various methodologies. And apologies for the speed here, but there's a lot to go through. So the setup that you've been looking at is equipped to handle up to 25 tons of material per day. And as I touched on earlier, the outputs to the resort or community or town are not just revenues from the sale of recyclables, but they're also things like soil amendments that create healthier soils, which equals more water retention, which equals less water consumption. In the islands that we're working in, most water is generated by reverse osmosis plants powered by diesel generators. So they're paying 50 cents per kilowatt hour for that power. We take the cooking oil from these facilities and generate biodiesel. We take construction materials and other woody waste to create soil biochar for soil amendments and cooking medium. For small sites and communities, the microecology park can act as a clean energy hub as well. It's powered by solar on the carport and the container roofs as necessary, and supported by a storage battery. And this is expandable, so the infrastructure is in place to be leveraged by the host resort or community as they may need or desire. And the equipment itself has a low power draw, so that some auxiliary power is available to site electric vehicles, charging stations, as you can see there in the foreground, and biofuels and other clean, lower carbon fuel output of this system, as I mentioned. There's a sort of series of general applications that we envision for this. We're starting with resorts, but again, cruise lines, private islands, small towns, military installations, national parks, ports, all things that could benefit from a system like this. And the advantages, sort of the green benefits I've touched on are clearly quantifiable. And I've talked briefly about the outputs to the client that are referenced here in relation to their return on investment. So it's not just the revenue from recyclables, but it's also their water savings. It's savings on soil and fertilizer importation, which can be considerable in these kind of environments where we have low soil quality and tons of erosion and dry conditions. And then sort of voluntary market carbon credits potential. And lastly, combined with the avoided cost of current landfill hauling and tipping fees that facilities might be faced with. So the evaluation of the facility through a financial lens has to account for sort of this total mass balance equation. But when we do, it pencils out for the customer.
30-second warning.
Yep, thank you. So again, the system relies on circularity. It doesn't pay back just to grab and sell the value-added recyclables. The cost of doing this is offset by all these products that I've been talking about and these other outputs that I've been talking about. So in closing, I'll just say that we're here seeking customers, but in front of you, seeking strategic partners, name recognition, and potential investment and financing that we could discuss down the road. Our product is a service-based model, and under contract can be financeable using traditional means, but we are looking to grow quickly, and so it could lead to these other kinds of conversations. So thank you very much, and I'll take any questions.
Sure. Thank you so much, Jeff. The floor is open. Okay, Matthew, go right ahead.
Sure, I can ask a question here. So in terms of the kind of key innovation or suite of innovations, is it fair to characterize this as you're able to leverage some kind of off-the-shelf existing technologies and then sort of put it together in novel ways and design these kind of small self-contained plants to be really valuable for a specific resort or micro island nation or something like that? Or maybe I missed something there. Is there anything on the sort of hardware technology processing innovation side?
Yeah, you largely captured it. This is more process oriented in terms of the IP, but there are a couple elements of it that are novel. There's a sorting technology that is low tech but novel and patent pending, and then there is a sort of self-contained recycling unit that contains a specially designed shredder and processing capacity. So there are a couple of small elements or smaller elements of this system that are new technology, but largely it is process-based and based on experience and leveraging capabilities.
Perfect. So Thank you so much, Jeff. Make sure to leave your contact information in the chat. I saw that there's a few people in the audience who would like to at least ask a few questions. So feel free to continue the conversations there. Han, we have time for one last question.
Sure. Actually, just last question here. So you have, I know you have a very unique solution there. And actually, just looked up your webpage, and you are covering from sanitary landfill to off-grid recycling. Is all that right? Is that what you're doing?
That's right. So our history is in waste recycling, composting. Currently, for example, the biggest project that we're running right now is in Nassau, Bahamas. We were hired to transform their previously open dump into an ecology park. And we receive all waste materials from Nassau, New Providence, Bahamas. We divert and recycle as many of them as we can, and we're generating compost, recyclables, etc. And also constructed a proper sanitary landfill with landfill gas collection, etc. So yeah, our history is largely in larger municipal scale waste stream management, and so this is leveraging off of that.
Gotcha. Are you in a carbon credit market in any way, any chance?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's complicated, but yes, I mean, we see this as a opportunity for the voluntary markets, for the customers that take part in these products.
Yeah, because the couple of companies, actually, we have 3 companies we invested in. We're in the similar field, so I think that we may be able to create some kind of synergy between. So maybe we'll talk about this later. Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Thanks so much, and thanks everyone else. Appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jeff. Next up, we have More Solar.
All right. Can everyone hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
All right. So howdy, I'm Joshua from More Solar. My co-founder Amy and I started More Solar here in Austin, and we really appreciate you taking the time to listen to us today. So More Solar is a US-based solar cell manufacturer that will have the most advanced solar cell on Earth in the next 12 months. This is a giant leap forward in solar cell technology. No, not working. There it goes. Our technology is added into the silicon that the solar cells are built on. The technology helps the cells use more light to make more power, and we make more power for more hours in the day. The solar market is massive. We all know that. It's 197 billion a year. We feel our technology will be compelling to the market segments focused on total power output. Solar farms, passive charging for electric vehicles, and satellite solar power. So for the last 20 years, really the Department of Defense has been funding our technology development. DoD's goal was CMOS electronics that could operate in high radiation environments, and it worked. We put parts on the International Space Station, Air Force put satellites in polar orbits, and now we're trying to commercialize the technology, so we engineered it into solar cells. Simulation testing has proven our technology increases total power output by 22%. Let me say that again. Total power output from a cell increases 22%. Then we scaled that engineering to reduce current manufacturing costs by 30%. So when we looked at solar cells, we saw a problem that we were very, very familiar with: recombination effects in silicon. So I like to think of a solar cell as a pool table. If you hit the balls hard, they bounce around a lot, and one will fall into the pocket. Congratulations, you made power. But if you hit the balls too softly, they don't move around very much, and nothing falls into the pocket. That is the recombination effect, and that is the failure in solar cells. So out of all the light energy hitting the Earth, current solar cells can really only use about 44% of it. That's the hard hitting light. The other 48% is soft hitting light, and that energy is lost to this recombination effect. To compound the problem, current solar cells only make significant power for a few hours during the day. Another problem is 80% of these low performance solar cells are coming from the same place. We're really risking 80% of the supply chain to a COVID disruption, a geopolitical tension, or worse. And I mean, just this week, I read an article about factories shutting down because of power outages, ironically. So first, more solar fixed the recombination problem. Our solar cells will utilize 92% of the light. Our technology helps cells make power because it can turn both hard-hitting and soft-hitting light into power, and then we can make that power for more hours during the day. Second, more solar can distribute the supply chain. Our design removes an expensive step that a solar cell is currently using, and that gets us the 30% reduction in costs, but what it really does is it streamlines the process. So manufacturing can be done in old US semiconductor fabs. The ability to walk into an existing fab to scale manufacturing capacity is a huge advantage. And we already have an agreement with an old fab in California to make our prototype and possibly be the first manufacturing site. So why now? I mean, we all know why. Solar cell technology needs investment. But last week on the 16th, Congress passed the Inflation Reduction Act called the Climate Bill. That law contains Section 45X, a manufacturing tax credit for solar cells. So 4 cents per watt on every cell made in the USA. The law says these manufacturing credits can be sold for cash to anyone, and the revenue from selling these tax credits is tax-free. So basically, just the act of making cells in the United States can generate more solar, I mean, potentially hundreds of millions a year in tax-free revenue starting January 1. So now it's your turn. Now it's your opportunity. We really can't do this without investment. We need you to join our team with a $5 million initial investment. And in 12 months, we will release the new technology standard for a $197 billion solar market. And we will have revenue guaranteed by the federal government as we scale market share. And with that, the timer says I'm done.
All right. Thank you so much, Joshua. Perfect. Tina, go right ahead.
Very nice pitch with a lot of energy and conviction, Joshua.
Thank you.
Could you share a little bit what exactly is the secret sauce? Is it like perovskite coated or quantum dot or something that increased the efficiency 22%?
That is a good question with a long answer that I'll make very short. So the solar cell in itself is an extreme environment. And so engineering electrically looks at things that are typically in controlled environments. And when you heat things up, or in our case, put them in radiation, they change. The physics changes. And so what we've learned over 20 years of Defense Department funding is how to make things go where we want them to go when they're in a less than ideal situation, and in solar cells when they're hot. So currently a solar cell, a photon hits, a charge carrier can go anywhere. With what we do, the charge carrier not only goes where we want it to go, it also goes the distance we want it to go. So when we remove things, we're removing things from solar cells because they're not necessary anymore. We know where the charge carriers are going, so we only have to put collection ports where they're actually going. And I don't think current solar has advanced their knowledge base that much. Our technology is patent pending. It's called SBGR, and it is the 4th generation of technology that is currently under 12 patents.
So it's not the material, but it is the design of the collection port. Is that what you're trying to explain?
It is both. So we manipulate regular silicon. We know how to manipulate it in such a way to get the charge carriers to go where we want them to go. And then we design the cell based upon where we know things are going. So if you know everyone's going to go this way, you'll put a door there. So we tell everyone to go this way, and then we put the door there. So it's both what you mentioned.
Thank you.
Han, go right ahead.
Yeah, Joshua, actually great presentation, and then also a great solution, actually. Yeah, I previously mentioned we invest in few different energy companies, and I think your solution can create a good synergy with them. And so number one, I'd like to talk to you offline later on. And then,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Number two, I like the fact that you're actually paying attention to this climate bill and then the tax-free opportunity for investors. I think that there's something you should actually spend a little few more minutes to pitch to investors. They're gonna like that. I'm already in that market, that's why I know about it. But I thought it was really good that you touched the base on that one. So thanks.
Well, I can. So one of the big fans we have of More Solar is a gentleman named David. He works for a solar energy tax credit law firm in DC. He's been keeping me abreast of the climate bill. And when this thing came out, he called me and said, this is going to be huge for More Solar. We really can make cells at a subsidized cost. So to give you an example, Jinko Solar is the largest plant in the world. If they were making those cells in the United States, last year they would have generated $960 million in tax credits that they could have sold tax-free. That's a serious income stream that has now been made available to companies like More Solar because we are going to build these things here in the US.
Right, exactly, yep. So great, thank you. Oh, maybe we should talk offline. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Kip, you're the last question.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Joshua. Quick question about the technology. Has it been validated at proof of concept or prototype phase, or that's what you're raising the funding for? Because a 20% increase in efficiency is I mean, that's massive. So I'm just curious if that's actually proven out, or that's what the funding's for.
The funding is for what's called validation. So in the semiconductor process, the whole world goes through TCAD. Department of Defense, Intel, ARM, they all use TCAD. Essentially, we simulate it in a simulated environment, and we pretty much accept it in the semiconductor industry. If it works in TCAD, it works in the real world. So the money we have raised has been significant. We raised $60,000 to simulate it. So it's simulation validation in TCAD, and I got mountains of data I could send you. The physical prototype is what's called validation. We validate the TCAD results. So yes, we've virtually simulated the device, and that was the result we saw was a 22%. We expect the physical prototype to present 22%, but in my experience, TCAD tends to be a little low. So I'm actually expecting slightly more efficiency gains out of the real world product because TCAD's got some sharper edges that the real world doesn't have. So yes, we're raising money to physically prove it, but we've already virtually proved it. And I can send you those results if you'd like to see them.
Okay, yeah, it'd be great to check that out. Thanks.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Joshua. I'm sure a lot of people want to talk to you. Leave your contact information or what you're comfortable leaving in the chat. Next up, we have Shalom Daniel with Mush Foods.
Thank you, Asher, for the opportunity. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
And you see the presentation. Great. So nice to meet you guys and thank you for the opportunity. I'm Shalom Daniel. I'm the CEO and founder of Mush Foods. What we are doing in Mush Foods, we are growing the next generation of great tasting sustainable meat alternatives in order to actually reduce high amounts of meat consumption within meat products. So basically, most of the people in food tech will tell you that one of the most significant challenges in our world is how we are going to feed 10 billion people in a sustainable way. But unfortunately, although the meat alternatives is growing, it's growing very slowly. I mean, even today, it's very tiny, small fractions from total meat market, and all the meat alternatives altogether is not even 1.5% from the total meat market, which, by the way, is $1.5 trillion a year. And this is because, the current solutions are not yet to be satisfied. And to tell the truth, most of us, I don't know what is your diets, but we're not going to be vegan, okay? At least most of us. And this is because, ask yourself, is it taste better than regular meat? The answer is no. Is it cheaper at least? The answer is no. And yes, it's not even healthier. Most of the people who want to reduce meat consumption is due to dietary and personal weight conditions and health. So we want to bring a solution that will benefit all sides of the deal and will put in the center the consumers first, the people who eat. Now, if you read the book, Crossing the Chasm, you know that any technology adoption or any change in the history is starting from this, the tree huggers, the small persons, the people who are the early adopters, early innovators. But in order to get to the mass, you need to bring a solution that will fit most of the population, the mainstream consumer. And we believe that the mainstream consumer will want to eat meat, but maybe less meat. So think of a hybrid meat, okay? The solution that it's actually 50% regular meat, animal meat, and 50% alternative proteins. And why we are sure that our solution will be the best is because first, if you compare mushroom mycelium, by the way, if you don't know mycelium, it's the roots of the mushrooms. It's actually what grows underneath the ground. We know how to grow it above the ground. And this is one of the best proteins in the world because it has the whole protein with all the amino acids inside. It's already have the umami taste that we so like in meat and chicken and such. And it already have the texture. So actually, I don't need to do any process to change the texture like you are doing in TVP, textile vegan protein with extruders, because you already have the flesh-like taste in your mouth. And it's very sustainable and growing very fast. This is, by the way, our core technology. What you see here above the tray is our mushroom mycelium from edible mushrooms. So we know to grow 60–70% of the total organism, of the total biomass above the ground. And in this way, we can harvest it each 8 days and make alternative proteins from it. Usually this material, this biomass, very great product, is not reachable to us because we're eating only the fruiting bodies, okay? Only 5–10% from this biomass, and we can be much more efficient per square meters. What we're doing with this mycelium, we're chopping them, we're reducing a little bit the liquids, so we can mimic the minced meat, and we can do it to replace chicken, pork, fish, beef, whatever you can choose. And what you see right now in the picture from the right side, it's our product that can replace chicken. It's made out of 2 different species of mushroom mycelium that we are binding together and we're mixing. And from the left side, you can see the beef replacement. And you don't need any additives, any binders, nothing. Only salt and pepper, like you are mixing patties at home. And what the mycelium is doing, it's actually sucking and observing all the fat, all the juiciness, all the liquids that we so like in meat. And the idea is that please leave the cows aside and leave the planet aside, because usually we are not changing our habits only to save the planet and cows. First, I want you to pick this hybrid solution because it's better for you. Because when I'm cutting 50% from the meat, I'm cutting 50% from the cholesterol, from the saturated fat. It's even less calories, 20% less calories. And I'm giving you a lot of added value like fibers and vitamins that we need in our solution. And for the meat producers, we're reducing a lot from the costs, actually. We are much more efficient, of course, for beef, but also from soy. You can see it by the change in the land use, in the growing time and the water use. And one of the benefits of our technology is that in terms of regulation, in terms of taste, we're mimicking the beef and the chicken better than any other mycelium solution and technology, because we are not using high manufacturings of bioreactors, and we're not using fusarium, which is a mold. We're using only edible mushrooms in a more agricultural way. We already
15-second warning.
Yeah, I'm finishing. We already have some traction, and almost 1,000 people try this product here in Israel. In November, we are coming to New York City. We're going to feed American Express, Citibank, Jane Street, and Google. So we're doing pilots, and this is my co-founders from Migal Research Institution. Right now, we're raising $5 million for the seed run in order to do the scale up and start the commercializing. And that's it. That's me. Questions?
Thank you so much, Shalom. All right, opening the floor up. Go ahead, Chloe. We are muted still, unfortunately.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you so much for this amazing presentation. You know, I'm personally very excited to try it when it is available. I was wondering what you use as your inputs for the system when you're growing the mycelium.
Thanks for the question. Actually, we're trying to be net positive or at least zero carbon footprint. We are using side streams, so we upcycle waste from the food industry. We're using soy, coffee, even you know, in tofu, each kilogram of tofu that you're producing, you have 1 kilogram of waste. So we are taking waste. We're taking waste from beer, from Carlsberg and Tuborg, and we have actually it's part of our IP. We are mixing together few food wastes from the industry, and then we're giving a specific nutrients for the mushrooms in order to grow in much more efficient yield, and even with much more great nutrients like protein and fibers and beta-glucans and such. So it's like a circular economy method that we're using. Thanks, Chloe,
awesome.
for
Thank
the
you.
question.
All right, Tina, go right ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. Always interesting topic for me. A few questions here. Did you mention that you didn't grow this in the fermenter, but it's in the agriculture setting instead?
Yes, Tina. Most of our competitors, they're growing in bioreactors in liquid fermentation, and because of these methods, they need microorganisms to grow it together with, you know, high energy, high water and oxygen, clean oxygen, and they're using Fusarium as the fungi. Fusarium, it's under the family of molds. So first, it's not the same taste like we are doing here. And second, it has high amounts of toxics and RNA. So after you are growing the mycelium in bioreactors, you need to extract the toxics so you can eat it. We're using only edible mushrooms. Actually, we're growing 14 different species. And then in the end, we're mixing few species together in order to get a specific taste. Like you saw in the picture, the product for the chicken, it's not the same product like the beef. For the chicken, we're mixing in the end after the process 2 different species, and for the beef, we're mixing 3 other species in order to get the specific aroma, taste, color, etc.
One last question. Why don't you just go directly and replace the meat itself? Is the taste profile very different? Because I feel like in this area, people are not competing on cost as much. They're competing on taste, on appearance to the consumer and branding and things like that.
Thanks for that. First is because you have much more money in the meat industry. Today, unfortunately, the solution for people who are vegan or vegetarian, not more than 10% from the population in very high awareness cities and countries. But from the total meat market, it's very small fractions. So we want to be where the big impact is, okay? And of course, the impact is both for sustainability and for the world, and also for the money and profits. Second, if you will use only 100% mycelium, okay, you can't reach to a good product. By the way, this is the same thing in soy and pea, okay? You can't use 100% soy or pea. You need binders, you need additives, okay? You need a lot of seasonings and other materials in order to get to this, you know, holy grail patty or chicken nuggets or whatever. Here, we can cut 50%, okay, or even more from the meat consumption within the meat product. So we are reaching much more population of the flexitarians, okay? And we don't need to use all these additives and controversial ingredients because you only need beef or chicken, mush foods ingredients. That's it, salt and pepper by your own taste.
All right. Thank you so much. I think that's all the time we have. But thank you so much, Shum. Matthew, make sure to ask your question to Shum in the chat. And so, yeah, that was a fantastic presentation. Next up on the agenda today, we are switching from the clean tech session. We are now moving to the energy and supporting systems session. And I'm going to quickly reintroduce the panelists for that session. And we'll do the same thing that we did for this session where please just quickly introduce yourself when you ask a question. For now, we have our crowd. We have Yakir Makhlouf. From Boeing, we have Hayden Shea. Sam couldn't make it today, unfortunately, but from Seraphim Space, we have Maureen Haverty. From FF Venture Capital, we have Oliver Mitchell. From Now Vertical Group, we have Dave Whitmire. From USACO Group, we have Hanko. From the DIU, we have Marshall Witkowski. From TDK Ventures, we have Tina Tisokon. And from The Engine, we have Chloe Holzinger. Thank you so much, everyone who is here. And to kick off the Energy and Supporting Systems session, we have Spark Charge. The floor is yours, Jordan.
All right, thank you very much. Let me just quickly share my screen. Bear with me for a second. All right. All right, my name is Jordan Neerhoff. I'm the Director of Grants Government Affairs for Spark Charge, where we are creating the world's first mobile and intelligent on-demand EV charging network. We were founded in 2017 by Joshua Aviv, whom some of you may have seen introduce President Biden at the CHIPS Act signing earlier this month, with the mission to accelerate EV adoption by resolving the fundamental problems holding back electrification. And we all know that the problem is lack of EV infrastructure, creating range anxiety as drivers and car makers alike are reticent to commit to the lengthy, laborious, and expensive process required to install traditional stationary charging that more often than not are slow level 2 chargers that drive EV drivers crazy. And that's when they're working, which often they are not, or they're simply blocked by another EV trickle charging all day. And for the plurality of Americans who live in multi-unit dwellings, at-home charging is often prohibitively expensive or simply prohibited where they live, thereby creating what we call charging deserts in the urban communities that would most benefit from cleaner air and cleaner transportation. The solution is mobile charging from Spark Charge. Our key technology offering is the Roadie, which you can see here has 2 parts. The first is the charger module, which is lightweight enough to be put in the back of any vehicle and is compatible with every EV on the road. So CCS, Chatamo, Tesla, you got it, we can charge it. The other piece of the puzzle is the battery module, which holds 20 kilowatts in each stackable, portable, modular case and can be deployed up to 60 kilowatts and can be recharged off of any conventional 110 wall outlet. Next month, we'll be debuting our more advanced offerings for medium and heavy duty vehicles, a 100 kilowatt Tesla supercharger on the back of a totally electric van for our delivery service currently. And as well as an off-grid stationary model. So you'll have to stay tuned for that reveal next month. But to give you a sense of the traction we've had in the market, I wanted to highlight our ongoing Series A funding round, which has raised $30 million in just 2022, bringing Spark Charge's valuation up to $1 million or $100 million. That is due in large part to the customers we've gotten to work with, from AAA and Ajero in the roadside market to Ford and Kia in the OEM space, but also because of the phenomenal supporters and advisors that we've been able to attract, including Mark Cuban, whom some of you may have seen invest $1 million in Spark Charge on Shark Tank a couple of years ago. We've been able to attract these visionary investors because our technology sets us apart. So pretty much we have flexible charging, so we can scale EV infrastructure to meet demand. We bring it in at a much lower cost, bringing the installation cost down 50% versus fixed units, and really just essentially zeroing out any costs relating to trenching, permitting, etc., we bring it right to you. There's no need for that. And then high power output. Right now, we are giving out at 70 mile/hour charging speeds, which makes us about 6 times faster than a level 2. So sort of on the slower end of level 3 DC fast charging. But we will soon be offering 100 mile/hour speeds. Will be just as fast, if not faster, than your destination Tesla supercharger. And we can take it off grid, move it to wherever it's needed. Some use case examples that we find particularly compelling in instances of power outages. Our Rhody batteries can be used to store energy off grid and keep EVs charged in emergencies. The Rhody can also extend the range of an electric fleet while in the field as part of a managed charging network, and roadside rescues where EVs can be safely recharged, saving time and money and avoiding very expensive, inconvenient tows. Finally, why Spark Charge? In addition to being first to market with portable EV charging technology with the lowest entrance to market cost, no special installations or permits or special vehicles required, the Rhody system boasts 100% uptime all the time, as it is capable of delivering 100% sustainable energy anywhere. And you can go from order to operation in less than 7 days, making it the fastest scaling charging solution on the market. And we know that that charging infrastructure is going to be a priority for governments around the world, as well as the private sector, as policies are driving major investments in the EV industry, and charging infrastructure is in particular. The opportunity is now, and the solution is Spark Charge. And with that, I thank you for your time. I've been Jordan Neerhoff from Spark Charge, and we're very excited to talk to potential partners in the private sector or in the public sector. We have use cases that really can fit any electrification project, and I'm excited to answer your questions and hopefully connect later. Thank you.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jordan. First up is Yakir Makhlouf from our crowd.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. This has been terrific. Really appreciate the presentation. As Asher said, and as he requested, my name is Yakir. I am the head of business development and head of mobility at our crowd. We're the biggest VC investor in Israel. I have 2 questions following your presentation. One of them is regarding the interface with the actual users, the actual clients that are looking to get a charge. And on the flip side, the other end of the spectrum, who are the drivers? Are they your employees? Is this kind of gig economy type of thing? If you can get into that a bit.
Yeah, I'm going to answer it sort of in reverse. So we reject the sort of 1099 gig worker model. We believe in electrifying communities, and we hire from the communities that we work in. We give folks a job in clean tech. We give them kind of a pretty intense coding and maintenance course, and it really sets them up to be leaders in their community in electrification.
Are they employed by you?
Yes. Yes, 100%. They get full benefits. They're part of the team. And then as far as interacting with the customer, so our consumer-facing product is called Currently. It is a mobile app similar to Uber Eats, where customers can download it, put their information for their car on it, and then schedule or order a charge on demand. They can schedule it out for a certain time of day. A lot of our customers like to get charged while they're at work. Some that don't have access to at-home charging get charged in their parking garage. Other people get charged while they're at the gym or running errands. We really sort of try and just fit into our customers' lives and make the EV transition as convenient as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah, Han, you're up.
Good, thank you. Hey, I really impressed by your solution and the presentation. That's great. Could you tell me just a little bit about your? I mean, you had actually on the slide you said a mobile, charger, and then also intelligent. Can you elaborate a little bit more about intelligent part of it and how you, you use an algorithm or some kind or something? Or because I've seen a few different companies like this, but your company is by far the best solution so far I've seen. So I just like to learn more about it. Thanks.
Oh, well, thank you for your kind words and for your question. Yeah, so we incorporate IoT technology into everything that we make. So we are constantly receiving data from our drivers, from our units themselves on the state of charge of vehicles, how our technology is performing, how the vehicle itself is performing. Really, we, through our app, want to be that sort of, more so than on demand, we want to anticipate our customers' needs. So we want to get it to the point where, you don't really have to think about, does my EV have a charge? It's just something that's automated. You have the Currently subscription. We know where to find you. We're going to give you that charge when you need it. You might even not even notice that your car needs that charge. But yeah, it's all about just making it even more convenient than driving an internal combustion engine vehicle.
Great. How long has the company has been around again? How long?
We were officially incorporated in 2017, but our CEO has been working on this idea since he was in his college dorm room in 2014.
Right. Great. Thanks so much. Very impressive. And maybe perhaps we can talk later on because we have a strong interest in this field. Thank you.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
Perfect. All right. Next up, we have Ateos. And feel free to start sharing when you're ready.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Okay, yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Rajan Kumar. I'm the founder and CEO of Ateos Systems. Here at Ateos Systems, we're building a revolutionary technology that will enable rapid, low-cost, and cleaner manufacturing of key battery components. So, as we all know, anything with a button requires a battery. Your phone, your car, all the electronics around us. Unfortunately, the technologies that are used to make batteries today are not able to keep demand that we need today for the next decade and centuries. And just to give you a context of how impactful this is going to be, just for a reference of how we're facing a battery shortage, this technology not able to meet the demand is going to cause a shortage of nearly 19 million EVs in the next 10 years. And this is affecting every type of device that is powered by a battery. To really understand where that problem is, we kind of want to understand where is the big bottleneck in how batteries are made today. So the way batteries are, we mine these materials out of the ground. We make them into kind of a ink-looking consistency, coat it onto metal foils. We dry it into a dry film, and then we process it and die cut it and then assemble it. And this is how 90% of batteries are made today. The challenge we see, the biggest bottleneck in this whole process, is this coating and drying step. This is a technology that has not changed in the past 50 years, and it's the most expensive and capital-intensive process. So what happens here is that these inks that are deposited, they require long thermal ovens, nearly 40, 60 meters long, to remove very toxic solvents. And this requires significant capital build and years to build out, and only very limited capability. So here at Ateos Systems, we built a revolutionary solution that uses light instead of heat. With this technology, by dramatically removing those ovens, this technology of manufacturing these key components moves so much faster, 10 times faster production output, 5 times cheaper, because those ovens now go from 40, 60 meters long to less than 10, which is a significant factor in the price of equipment and then the building around it. And then it's actually 12 times cleaner, because all of the energy used to remove all that toxic solvents and collect it is no longer needed. It is a solvent-free process, and it uses light, which is much cleaner. This technology was developed at Oak Ridge National Lab, and we have the exclusive license. And then we've built additional patents around the technology and down the value chain as well to make better batteries. And what I think is really exciting about our company is that, if you look at, this is a challenge that a lot of people are looking at to solving, because the dry electrode process is the biggest key to unlocking this capability and output. And if you look at all the companies that are out there, right now, our technology is going to have the highest roll-to-roll output, lower equipment cost compared to a $20-30 million system, and it can produce very thick electrodes, which is needed for those high energy density applications like EVs and grid storage. And it produces very little amount. And what's exciting is that this technology can apply to any type and size of battery chemistry. And the ultimate goal with this technology is driving the cost below $100 to $80 per kilowatt, and also increasing the energy density from right now 250 to 400 watt hour per kilogram. And then what we look is we kind of look in the industry from battery companies in this space. Usually inception, they have this great idea coming out of the national lab. They have to raise $10 to $20 million to basically build up a kind of pilot facility and then eventually get sample cells to customers. With our approach, since we've incubated in a battery pilot facility already, we've been able to move so much faster and quicker, just focusing on our innovation. And in less than 3 years, or 3 years since we funded, and less than 2.5 million, we already have multiple customers, and we have multiple pilots going on with manufacturing partners. And in the past 12 months, we've secured over 425K in revenue contracts from Army Research Lab, Meta, and Mass Holdings, all huge entities that are looking for our battery technology. And where we see right now, biggest opportunity is in developing key components for primary batteries, where we see in IT and wearables, these companies are looking for small batteries to stick on a wall and forget. These customers are willing to pay a very high price point, very low technical risks, so this is a faster path to revenue. For example, in asset tracking, companies lose billions of dollars of assets from just losing them. Building these little trackers with GPS can save those losses. Disposable wearables, as we know, diabetics and vital monitoring is really key now for preventative care, especially with COVID. We already have multiple pilots with powering these disposable wearables. And then an exciting market that has come out because of COVID is these electronic shelf labels, where if you go to a Best Buy or Amazon, powering these displays were more interactive and more is going to be the future of retail. So we have a battery technology that is going to power, and we've already gotten samples to these customers, and they're really excited by the traction that we've had, or by the testing we have. So customers like Wine Visible, Electronic Inks, these are one of the leaders in these electronic shelf displays. They've tested our batteries, as Wine Visible has said. They've evaluated many flat batteries. Nothing has ever come close to the energy density that Ateos can offer. Electronic Inks is that with our solution, we provide a thin, dense, cost-effective power solution that they didn't have before. And what I think is really exciting that we're offering customers on our sales side is that for decades, engineers have been designing their electronics around the battery. We've built robust software where customers can now build their battery around the battery. This is where customers like ResMed are a big fan of that, where they never had that capability, and we enable it with our technology.
15-second warning.
Yep. So what's really exciting is that we're supplying key components to this $50 billion battery market, providing the key components and materials. Key focus on primary and low chargeable cells. We have a really strong team, over 100 years experience in battery and in manufacturing for multiple battery companies. And today we are looking for new customers in devices and battery manufacturers, and talking here today to talk to strategic investors for Series A. Any questions?
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Opening up the floor for questions. Feel free to quickly, if you haven't yet introduced yourself, feel free to introduce yourself when you ask a question. Yep, Hayden.
Hi, a great presentation. I'm curious if you think you will get into rechargeable batteries in the future, if there's a reason your technology isn't suited for high cycles.
No, so our focus was the primary, just to get revenue in the door. We already have a rechargeable product coming out this fall. We already have it showcased with Soft Matter or Mass Holdings. They've shown our flexible battery to customers like Nike and so forth. We've proven over 300 cycles, and we're already starting to engage more customers in the high cycle life for EVs and drone applications.
That was going to be my next question, since I work for Boeing, is what you were doing for aerospace applications. I'd be interested in learning more about that, perhaps offline.
Okay, well, we have offerings that not only on the material side to provide higher energy along with our process. So happy to talk offline.
Awesome. Thank you.
Perfect. Marshall, you're up.
Marshall Wachowski with Defense Innovation Unit. I know you mentioned 450 kilowatts per kilogram, I think.
Yep.
Is that theoretical or is that achieved already?
So we've achieved roughly like 300. It can be achieved in terms of design. So.
Thank you.
Perfect. We have time for one last question. If not, John, it looks like already people are asking for your email in the chat. So definitely share some of your contact information there.
Sure, will do.
Yep, perfect. And then following Ateos, we will be having Energy Audit presenting. When you are ready, Energy Audit team, feel free to start sharing your slides and we'll get going.
Great. Getting set up here. Can everybody see the screen?
Not yet. Give it another try.
All right.
Perfect. You see it now.
First of all, thanks for investing your time in us today. I'm Cameron Williams, founder and CEO at Energy Audit, an energy modeling, measurement, and verification company. Now, if I can ask you all to spin around in your seat for a second and face the opposite direction. This is how we are facing the energy and climate crisis that we're experiencing, which is real. However, we're facing the wrong way. So I'm about to go through our deck, but I need you guys to approach this with an open mind so we can spin back around and watch how we can solve this problem together. The energy problem we are facing today is not due to a lack of technology, obviously, innovation, or resources. It's in reality, it's due to a lack of clean data. Most energy data being used go unverified. And because of this, we don't have a true understanding of how or why energy is consumed. The current approach to solving the energy problem rewards doing things fast over doing things right. This is a problem. We have transitioned from facing a climate crisis to facing a climate solution crisis. Our problem now is that we are in a race to find a solution before we even understand the problem. In a lot of the meetings that we've had, we've noticed that people assume that we have a solution to a problem that doesn't exist yet, the aspirin versus vitamin deal. But by the end of our meetings, people realize that the problem exists very much, and it's happening right now under our noses. Take any one of the buzzwords from our discouraged buddy here, and there's a messy, often politicized conversation attached to it. I have personally seen with my own eyes this conversation unfold for the past 10 years in the state of California. California had a net zero 2020 initiative back in 2014 and a great program in place to achieve it. Finances to back it, yet here we are in 2022 having rolling blackouts and increased rates. I can tell you why this is happening, and it's because the data that are being used by policymakers and innovators go unverified. Now, the building blocks of our universe all have an energy signature. Here on Earth and in near space, we create, buy and sell goods and services across the globe that consume energy in order to be produced. Our solution measures and verifies how and why energy is being consumed, while also measuring and verifying current or potential energy production to offset the consumption. Once that data is tied to a product or an organization, we can now track how that energy moves throughout the global supply chain. Just like the building blocks of our universe, every product has an energy signature. When we partner with an organization, we identify all the organization's energy data that's currently being overlooked through various technologies. We use IoT sensors, computer vision, AI and ML, and then we directly tie that data to an organization's operations and productivity. By measuring and verifying thousands of these data sets, we can model the energy signature and create an energy profile at the granular level. In order to implement our solution, we have a plan and a team to deliver. Our starting lineup have great minds and a depth of experience. We got legendary networks to pull from. We are confident in our ability to identify, attract, secure talent needed to ensure mission success. We're engaged with the best minds in AI and mathematics through Scorpion Computer Services and one of the top naming firms, Master McNeil, to brand our vision. We are also legally represented by Wilson Sonsini. So traction, just in the past 45 days, we've been able to secure 6 customers in 2 of our target markets. Also, our strategic partnerships have existing customers that fall well within those specific markets, specifically oil and gas, manufacturing, as well as retail, higher education, healthcare, and mining. Our partnership with Devstream finances large energy projects in return for the rights to any carbon credits that are identified along the way. They have identified customers of theirs that will benefit from our system, so we're looking forward to that. Also, SVP is a 5G infrastructure deployment company that does 5G retrofitting for hospitals, resorts, universities. Again, customers that fit right into our target market. I'll give you a second on this one. So the energy, 5.6% of GDP is spent on energy. So this is where these numbers come from. We have a network of generating effect embedded into our scoring system and literally have incentive built into the algorithm. Our immediate target market to capture manufacturing, which is a $140 billion market for us, and oil and gas, which is an additional $112 billion market for us.
30-second warning.
Perfect. So we're here, we are raising $6.25 million to secure our team of success to match our growing demand. This will provide us with the team we need, 30 months of runway and a 0 to 1 product. This will provide the world with the data it will need to turn itself around. And with that, thanks for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Cameron.
Thank you.
So we're opening up the floor for questions. Please feel free to raise your hand and we'll get to them in the order that they were raised. Han, you're up.
Alrighty. Well, thank you for the presentation. I really appreciate it. And again, I think you just touched the right point. The energy industry, a lot of times we're lost in a way that we don't know where energies go, how much we're consuming, and how much is lost. So it's great. Let me ask you this: do you have any intellectual property in this your operation or in your services or in that operation there? Or
we do. So not only are all the algorithms that we're using proprietary, but also some of the hardware that we'll be designing will be proprietary as well. So we're using off-the-shelf technologies and hardware where we can, and we're building what we don't have to gather the data that we need. A lot of the operations that we're going into to model are very unique operations. So it's, modeling buildings is kind of run-of-the-mill and very simple to do. But when you're actually modeling a process or a system, it hasn't been done before. So part of our value add is the discovery of what the data consumption actually is. So where we can use what's out there. Where we can't, we will design and have the infrastructure to design and deliver ourselves.
Gotcha. Do you work with any governmental agencies?
We have a phase 1 AppWorks application in. We're also putting forth for DOE open topic grant, but we are heavily interested in U.S. government participation because we feel like it's an enormous consumer of energy, and we'd really like to get that down compared to GDP.
Right. Actually, the reason that I asked was exactly that, because not only U.S. government as well, not only a U.S. government, but the foreign ally, U.S. ally government as well. Because again, like I said, I guess I should supposed to make a introduction real quick. My name is Han Ko. I'm Isako Group. We're an international venture capital company. We invest in companies U.S. domestically, but also companies in Asia and European. And I have an office in South Korea. So we closely work with the tech companies in the energy industry, especially they're paying attention to both markets, U.S. and South Korean market. And for example, the say U.S. Air Base in K-55, in Osan, want to save the energy. They will have to use some kind of technology services. So that's why I was touching base with you. So, all right, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, Cameron.
Thank you.
And that was a great presentation. The next up, we have Blip Energy. Feel free to start sharing when you guys are ready to go.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I just, before I get started, wanted to shout out all of the great presentations that have gone before. It's really exciting to see where the battery ecosystem is going and what people are building and how we're coming up with creative approaches, even in a very challenging ecosystem. So great job and really cool shit for everybody who's gone before. My name's Sophia Wenstedt. I'm a CEO and co-founder at Blip Energy. And I've lived in apartments for my entire adult life. Between my co-founder and I, we've experienced more power outages than I can count. I've thrown away thousands of dollars worth of food, lost days of productivity, had to take refuge in friends and neighbors' apartments where they still had power. And I knew I couldn't be the only one. And turns out I'm not. According to the DOE, the past 2 years have seen the most power outages in US history, costs about $150 billion annually. The US is ranking the worst among our peers, but globally, we're all struggling with this. And 500,000 Americans on average lose power every day. So this is a big problem. And we're really seeing solutions that are not as big as the problem. We have three main categories that we look at in this market. So on one hand, you have whole home battery systems. Great solution if you can afford it and you have somewhere to install it, but that leaves most of us out of the loop. You also have fuel burning generators, diesel or gas. Some are installed, some you can pick up at Home Depot, but these are dirty and noisy. They are ironically contributing more to the climate crisis that is caused by that is causing these outages in the first place. And more they're actually prevented by HOAs because of those factors. And then we have camping batteries. These are great. They're pretty expensive. And most don't provide sort of any other service besides sitting in the garage until you need it. So we looked at this market, which is big and we think ripe for disruption, and wanted to develop a new category, to define a new category in smart home energy that takes the IoT connected functionality of a Tesla Powerwall type system with the portability and flexibility of a camping battery at the cost of a generator that you could pick up at Home Depot. And we developed Blip One. So this is an affordable smart home battery. It has 2.2 kilowatt hours of backup capacity. It saves money on your electric bill by intelligently charging up when the cost of energy is low and then running devices during the day. It can also charge up if you have rooftop solar on excess rooftop solar. It's affordable. So the price point we really were able to enable by using second life batteries as a source of our cells. We're using repurposed LFP batteries. The batch we have right now is testing at over 90% capacity. And it can be integrated as a grid edge resource. So the IoT connection can allow this to be leveraged to stabilize the grid as a whole. But we knew that with any distributed resource that's sitting in a customer's home, you need to make sure that it's really customer friendly. So we developed this to be as user friendly as possible. It plugs into a standard wall outlet. It doesn't require professional installation. You don't need an electrician or permission from a landlord. It connects to your home Wi-Fi network, and it has 4 charging ports in the back. So it's not feeding energy back into the grid, it's powering devices directly. And you can set it and forget it until you need it. So there's sort of 2 different use cases. One is daily energy savings, and the other, the power has gone out and maybe you want to run your fridge or your CPAP machine. Maybe you have cold stored medications, or your kids just want to use the Xbox. So it's flexible to your needs and priorities. And we ultimately see ourselves becoming a hub for home energy management. Why do we deserve to win in that space? Because we are solving a real need for the customer. Power outages can be really scary, especially if you need cold stored medication or you have other medical devices, or they can just be a real inconvenience. You can lose connectivity for a big presentation that you need to deliver by the end of the day. But by solving that need, rather than just sort of the vitamin of having some extra smart plugs around, we think that we really can own that customer experience and that customer relationship. And we can monetize those capabilities in a number of ways. So today we can bid into demand response and capacity markets to provide those grid edge services. And ultimately, we think that by being able to access these really hard to reach customers, especially in apartments and condos, there's a lot of interesting data about energy usage, like the presentation before was just going through, and some utility partnerships so that they can work directly with their customers on that. And we're being really strategic in how we're rolling out and implementing to make sure that we're first looking to states, especially with that grid integration and grid edge capability at top of mind. We want to focus on states where there are outages, but there are also energy targets and mandates, and there's a favorable DR and capacity market ecosystem. And I would love to talk ad nauseum about all the progress we've made so far, but in this length of pitch, I'll just highlight that we have secured batteries for our first 5,000 units through Global Battery Solutions. We have a partnership with LEAP to bid into DR and capacity markets, and are working on a pilot with a community solar program through Invenergy called Reactivate. We've gotten letters of intent through our 3 go-to-market channels, which are solar installers, the sort of multi-unit building ecosystem, and utilities that covers our entire first batch of product, which we're very excited about that pipeline. We also did a direct-to-consumer pre-sale, really just to prove out the customer appetite. We raised about $1 million in pre-seed funding and have had some fund recognition throughout the process. Chance and I have really complementary backgrounds. So my background is in hardware. I worked as a mechanical engineer on Roomba. I've also worked at Tesla in the residential energy business and at Exelon. And Chance has all the context that our hardware sits in. So he's worked in energy policy as well as utility consulting, and he makes sure that we know where to go. So now we're raising funds to really execute that pipeline we've built out. In the coming months, we'll complete certification and be able to start initiating pilots, after which we'll stand up our full scale of manufacturing and be able to scale those partnerships. And what makes me really excited about Blip is that it enables a lot of other technologies that will help build a better, smarter grid for all of us. So thank you very much, and I welcome your questions.
Tina, go ahead.
Well, first of all, amazing to see a female entrepreneur pitching today, Sophia. Great pitch.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm going to jump right into this because it's the area that we've been looking a lot to understand. When you have the second life batteries, do people prefer to recycle that batteries, or do people want to actually take that back and reuse? And how do you make sure that you know the state of health of that batteries and therefore can control the lifetime of that? And also you mentioned that the goal is to get access to lower cost backup batteries. Can you comment today, where do you think you are comparing to Tesla Powerwall and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll address the question about second life cells first. So right now, only about 5% of batteries are being recycled. And those, there's also a distinction between the earlier sort of chemistries of lithium-based batteries and the LFP batteries, which is what we're using, which is a bit safer, a little bit more stable in terms of thermal effects, and is what a lot of car manufacturers are moving towards. The recycling problem with LFP batteries is that they're mostly iron. So they're even less profitable than if you're recycling a battery that has nickel or cobalt in it. In terms of making sure that they make it to recycling, that's part of our end of life plan. But right now, most of these batteries are ending up in landfill. In terms of making sure that it's safe, so one thing that we are doing is that we basically take the original pack, we can deconstruct it down to the cell level and test each of the cells. So one of the concerns about second life batteries is that different cells will be at different capacities and stages, but by deconstructing and testing at the cell level, we're able to bin the highest quality cells and repackage those together. And in terms of cost, so a Tesla Powerwall is a much higher capacity than what we're offering. They're offering about 13 kilowatt hour battery for about $20,000. We're offering a 2.2 kilowatt hour battery for right now $800, which we can get down to 500 at scale if everything stops inflating so much. But in terms of even just a direct comparison, a 2.2 kilowatt hour camping battery that doesn't have the IoT functionality and is using new lithium batteries costs about $2,000.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kier, you're up.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe a follow-up question to what Tina just asked. Actually, I want to start off maybe with another question before I get into that. Maybe you spoke about the smart aspects of charging at lower cost times of the day. What about smart aspects when it comes to potentially peak shave across your charging, your daily domestic use? So can I use this to actually peak shave when I operate several appliances in my home at once? Could this be usable for that? And is there an algorithm side behind it or a smart side to this?
Yes. Short answer, yes. There's a backend algorithm that can basically do the intelligence switching so that if everything is plugged into it, you can assign what the different outlets are connected to. And then we take care of that because we wanted to make sure it was sort of a set it and forget it. People aren't going to remember to plug in and plug out their air conditioner. That's why a lot of the variable rate programs right now aren't as effective as they could be.
Got it. And the follow-up question to Tina was about the margin. So at $800 today, what are the type of margins that you're seeing? And at scale that you're planning on getting, what are the type of margins that you're planning on getting to?
Yeah, so right now we're seeing about 15 to 20% margin on an $800 price point, and then looking at those recurring revenue streams of $100 to $150 per unit per year, which goes directly to us. Another very exciting thing that I actually need to update into this deck is that we count for the stationary storage for the new credits in the US that just passed. So there's a 30% rebate for standalone storage.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sophia. I think that's all the time we have for this slot. But that was a fantastic presentation. Make sure to leave your contact information because I know that there are definitely a few people who want to get in contact with you after this. Perfect. And next up, we have a Spinity. I can't hear you, Tom.
I always do that. So hello, everybody. I'm Tom Doyle from Spinity. And as you can see, enabling power intelligent products is our mission statement. Really important to address this as we look to how we consume energy and AI, especially when we have an explosion of connected devices that are doing everything from simply having our plants tell us when they need water to actually good things like having our machines tell us when they need fixed. 30 billion connected devices will be amplified by the rollout of 5G, will explode our power needs, and will really require us to move towards insight-driven systems. This expansion is going to be met with a significant headwinds, including power challenges, data waste, and battery life. We must use less power as we are going to exceed what we have. We need to think differently about how much data we push forward, big data, and we have to address the increasing proliferation of battery-powered devices that we heard a lot about. as the technology is actually plateauing. These are major headwinds. We just can't think about simply improving efficiency. We must make products more power intelligent. This is where we have meaningful change at the intersection of energy consumption and AI. And Xfinity enables this power intelligence through its analog machine learning chips in the way that we sense, process, and then activate. So firstly, we gather data in a very low power way from a wide variety of sensors. We use analog machine learning capabilities, not digital machine learning, to do inferencing, to detect events and anomalies. And then we activate the next step for a system or transmit relevant data. Here's an example of somebody using it today to realize new power and accuracy performance. I had to block them out given the NDAs, but a major home security brand in the US. Xfinity's AML100 is the chip that's the key ingredient for making this security product power intelligent. With Xfinity, the always-on AI system power is near zero at 0.13 milliamps of always-on power, achieving a 5-year battery life while improving accuracy compared to competitors that are already on the market. And this is one example of many where we change power consumptions of the system from the sensor all the way to the cloud. As we look through the flow, no data gets moved beyond Xfinity's AML100 chip until it is determined that the data is relevant and could provide needed insights. This dramatically changes the energy used, as you can see from the broad array of implementations across many applications. The most important metric is always-on AI system power of the product. And as you see, when we use the AML100, we drop that in all cases by an order of magnitude. This is all accomplished with a single AML100 chip via software algorithms, a major innovation, the first and only reliable analog processing chip. We have solved a major hurdle in semiconductor technology, and we have the patents and the IP protected. This is unique from all other cores as it processes analog data and is built with analog circuitry. This is important because the physical world data that we are so interested in happens to be natively analog. And so the AML100 does the inferencing without digitizing this data, saving significant power. And the end result is system enabled that can optimize data at the source, which is power, be programmed for myriad applications, and achieve the lowest always-on system power. And we have tremendous interest in a strong pipeline. I would like to show you the logos that are moving through our funnel, but I can only show 2 of our partners that are public. But we have tremendous interest in a strong pipeline, including key design wins with the security company and mobility company. We have key partners that are selling with us and for us, and we are moving customers from early outreach to wins. Current wins comprise 1.2 million in purchase orders, and our forecast for next year is 5 million to 7.5 million as we move these customers to wins. At scale, 200+ million tons of CO2 can be avoided with Xfinity. This is something most don't really focus on. Usually it's clean energy generation, but we now have an opportunity to use much less energy for the exploding number of connected devices that we use every day. Xfinity has a highly qualified and experienced team enabling us to deploy analog machine learning and a board of directors with extensive reach into the industries we're targeting. Xfinity is raising $15 million for this round of funding to scale our commercial team, to extend our current success, and further scale our R&D team and to launch our development environment and extend our products. Amazingly, with only 13 million invested so far, we've been able to complete initial release of the world's first reliable analog core, a semiconductor core, and secured at-scale design wins. I want to thank everybody, and if there's any questions, I'll be glad to take them.
Thank you so much, Tom. That was fantastic. As Tom said, we're going to open up the flood of questions. Yeah, go ahead, Marshall.
Yeah, so it's Marshall Wachowski from Defense Innovation Unit. So it sounds like the chip is reading the analog signals. Is it just discarding those signals if it deems they're not relevant, or is there a way to recover that data if needed?
Typically, no. I mean, the systems we have a way of capturing information if it's needed on the next stage.
Okay.
But typically, the products that we go into or the applications that we support are not interested in data. So, for instance, if you think about a device in your home that's always monitoring the sound to wake up when you say a magic keyword that you only say 1% of the time, there's really no use, maybe from your perspective, in having data move forward in the process, right? So think of it that way.
Thank you.
Are you getting a lot of traction with industrial and manufacturing companies?
Absolutely. That is the one area that's exploding, because today the way that things happen are that they monitor machines because they want to use battery operated sensors to know when a machine goes bad. Unfortunately, today's solutions force them to turn things on and off, and they miss problems because they have to duty cycle because it can't last on battery. And so we are working with some key partners to come out with a solution that uses our chip that can remain on all the time, very low power, last for years on battery, and only wake up the system and only call maintenance when the machine starts to exhibit a failure.
Awesome, thanks.
There's also Tina, go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's quite a lot of analog chip companies out there. Can you mention maybe like what's the underlying differentiation?
I think there's a lot of talk about analog in the industry, and there's a reason for that, because it's very power efficient. If you can design an analog versus digital, which is very challenging, then you're automatically very efficient. A lot of what we see in the industry is typically analog in-memory computing chips, which are still in the digital domain, but happen to do some computing within analog in memory. Sorry to get so geekish on everybody, but that's kind of how they operate. So they're still digital chips. They can't operate with pure analog sensor data like we can. So that's what really sets us apart from everybody else. We're doing analog signal processing and analog computing at the same time.
Thank you.
Awesome. If that's it, I'd like to thank you, Tom. Tom, definitely leave your info in the chat. With that, we have wrapped up the Deep Tech Showcase Energy Showcase. I'd like to thank everyone who participated and stayed on. Really appreciate it. We've seen a lot of fantastic presentations today, and we always like to thank the panelists who make it possible and share their wisdom and are able and give us the ability to kind of put this on. So thank you to everyone who joined us, and we appreciate it, and stay tuned. The next one is advanced materials, which, as you've seen from today, there's probably a lot of overlap. So if you're interested in what we had here, the overlap in advanced materials is definitely there. So looking forward to seeing you again, and thank you again. And if you guys want to reach out to any company specific that you did not catch their contact information or did not catch them, feel free to reach out to me by email. I'm putting it in the chat right now. It's osher@deeptechshowcase.com. And so, and if you guys want the recording will be available on YouTube. And we're probably also going to break it down into individual pitches. So stay tuned for that. If an investor has a legitimate request for certain decks, happy to provide. And yeah, that's it. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Asha. This was awesome.
Thank you, everybody. This was
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was a
Bye-bye.
pleasure. Thank you.